Unless
Close,
no worries.
delete.
Let me very quickly grab my right.
Yeah, everybody get a beer, take a piss, take a shit, do whatever you gotta do. Be back in 3 minutes. And they changed how this fucking works. General
you're live.
media. No, I'm not live.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. I did not mean to click that. Hey, everyone who's here, you get to see 3 minutes of the early show while Drunk Kai tries to set up the opening and closing songs. So just ignore this part for 3 minutes or skip forward 3 minutes if you're watching this later. I did not click the button to go live.
Behind the music.
Yeah, tweaked. Okay, add source closing song, add source, and then browse, and then pick the closing song, which is a really good version of Christmas.
Don't want a lot for Christmas.
Shit, I still gotta get another.
There's just one thing I need.
Back in 2 minutes.
I don't care about the
The show
presents
is
underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you for
You're
my
live on
own,
Twitching.
Live on
more
wow,
than
how are we
you
fucking
could
live when I
ever
didn't click to go
know.
live?
You're live, and we're watching the intro video.
All right, so
You got the music going
yeah,
now.
that's the closing video. Don't even worry about it.
Oh, the closing video.
ELIX and Tweaked, you talk to people while I take a piss and get some vodka. Be right back.
Hey everybody. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun Friday. We're starting early. So
3
early
minutes.
Kai didn't even know it was early.
Hey, we've had shows before where we had no sound or we started 10, 15 minutes late because of technical issues. So these weird technical issues that actually put us on early, I guess that's better than nothing, right?
The universe just achieving balance.
Take a win when you can get it.
So yeah, I think
got a lot
this
to
is going to
talk
be a
about
fun
this
show.
week.
Yeah,
We got some
we have. This
dangerous
is going to
things.
be.
FDev is doing some things. CIG is always doing some things.
FDev's back in the news, and it's for something that they did that players want, not something that they did that was just screw you. So that's good.
We got the Evo
The-
build.
Yep, Avocado build is in the works, so
Just hasn't even settled on 3.15 yet, and 3.16 is already hot on its heels.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's-
3.6, like the end of the year patch always comes in sooner than all the others because they don't wait for the new year to release it, where normally they put out a patch after the end of the quarter.
yeah, they got that
And-
hard deadline because of
Yeah,
this close.
they want to go home for the
Right,
holidays.
holidays and everything. Yep, sure. Some big things coming in this one, though. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Holy
We're
shit, guys.
just starting.
So I got
Welcome
vodka.
back.
I got vodka. I'm in group 4 for this invasion. We're about to do a show, so I'm totally not doing an invasion in New World right now. Shh, don't tell anybody. Yeah. So, oh shit, I gotta mute the volume of the game, otherwise you're gonna hear me killing zombies. Game menu,
Fine.
settings,
Fine.
audio. Haha, it's muted. Now I'm totally not killing zombies.
One time I was. Go ahead.
All
We're
right.
starting up.
Is
so
it?
it's time?
Yeah, it's time to start. Here we go. We're starting the show.
Let's go.
Hold on. I'm muting everybody.
I'm coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. Started out with a kiss, how did it end up like this? It was only a kiss, it was only coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. Started out with a kiss, how did it end up like this? It was only a kiss, it was only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep and she's calling a cab while he's having a smoke and she's taking the drag. Now I'm going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head, but she's touching his chest. Now he takes off her dress. Now let me go. I just can't look, it's killing me. And taking control. Jealousy turning saints into the sea, swimming through sick lullabies, choking on your alibis. But it's just the price I pay. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, 'cause I'm Mr. Brightside. I'm coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. Started out with a kiss, how did it end up like this? It was only a kiss, it was only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep and she's calling a cab while he's having a smoke and she's taking the drag. Now I'm going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head, but she's touching his chest. Now he takes off her dress. Now let me go. I just can't look, it's killing me. I'm taking control. Jealousy turning saints into the sea, swimming through sick lullabies, choking on your alibis. But it's just the price I pay. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, 'cause I'm Mr. Brightside.
God damn, was that good. Hello, hello. This is Kai Zen of the Black Sky Legion. You're watching the Black Sky Legion. And I'm a little drunk and doing an invasion. So let me throw on some B-roll. And then let's go ahead and introduce the other people on the show. So first off, I'm Kai Zen, your host. Hey, you may know me. You may not. Whatever. It's no biggie. I'm drinking a little vodka and some Triple Dog IPA, which is 19% APV. And whoo, this shit is legit good. With me tonight, we've got my tactical officer, the main man, Tweet74. Say hello to the beautiful Tweet. People, Tweet, and tell them what you're drinking and what you're doing.
Hello, everybody. Friday night, once again, lots of things to discuss.
Hell
People
yeah.
doing good things, people doing other good things.
Hell yeah.
Kind of a weird time. Got my trusty coffee next to me, of course. Nothing fancy this week, just some black coffee with a little bit of cream and sugar added to it.
Okay.
I this week have been playing a whole lot of Star Citizen and a whole lot of Odyssey on top of it. So
Hell yeah.
my game time this week was split right down the middle between the two.
You got to tell us what flavor coffee you're drinking, Tweaked.
This is just black coffee tonight. Regular coffee.
Right on. Regular Merkin coffee. Nice, nice, nice.
Wake my ass up kind of coffee.
Hell yes. All right. And also, we've got tonight ELIX, my main man, the Lalafell. What's up, my brother?
Evening, everybody. Good, ready for a good show tonight. And I am drinking some Hibiki Harmony
Nice.
Japanese whiskey. I got fancy tonight.
Nice. Very cool. Very hip. Nice. I dig it. And we also have Gamers Cafe joining us from the land down under. Here's a little, I'll tell you a little secret. Australia doesn't exist. It's a myth made up by big maps. And it's all CIA officers. Tell them, gamers, what you drinking? And how's life in the CIA?
You weren't supposed to tell anybody about that, bro.
That was like the dumbest. When you told me about that, when you told me like there's people that believe that Australia, whatever, doesn't. I'm like, okay. I mean, I know flat Earth people are stupid, but like, how stupid are you if you think Australia is a myth? Like, holy shit! What you drinking tonight, bro?
I'm drinking rum and coke. So,
nice. Very chill. Very, very on brand. I feel like for Australia, I feel like that's a convict drink. I dig it. I dig it. All right. Yeah. So we've got a lot to talk about. That was Mr. Brightside. Yes, I saw somebody say the Killers in chat. Killers are one of my. I love that song. I mean, I love that song. So yeah, I wanted to play that, and that girl is cute as a button, and goddamn, she can sing, and it's cool. I like when you take a song that's like fast and whatever, and then you just like flip the script. You give it like a slow, soulful treatment, and it just changes the whole feel to things. One of my favorite songs, there's a dude who does, what's that song? You know, shake it, shake it, shake it like a Polaroid picture. That song. Hey, hey, there's a dude who does it like slow and soulful, and I was like, holy shit, that just changes the whole feel of the song. God damn, I love that shit. So yeah, it'll be in the show notes. I'm drunk. Don't ask me what it was, but it's good, right? I dug it.
Yeah.
All right, and the closing song.
The song you're talking about. The song you're talking about is Outcast. Hey, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I said that, but the closing song is going to be like a spin on a Christmas song. I can't fucking stand Christmas music for multiple reasons. One, because they start playing it in September, and two, because it normally is dog shit. But this particular rendition of this particular song is fucking amazing, and I just, so yeah, you'll see when we get there. It's legit. It's good, and I hope you enjoy it. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Let's start off with what everybody's been doing, because I know we've got a certain little boy in the crowd who's excited to tell you about his Final Fantasy adventures. So let's start right off with him. ELIX, tell us what you've been doing this week, bro.
I've been playing Star Citizen.
Wow.
No, I have been playing Final Fantasy 14 when I've been able to get on through the queue.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a thing.
The queue wars are legit.
Final Fantasy 14 has been, it has not been this popular in terms of player numbers trying to hit the servers since it launched.
I mean, not since it launched, but since it launched.
Traffic.
Not since it launched. When it launched, it was dog shit. But since it launched A Realm Reborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially even V1. I'm not sure exactly if Yoshida was talking about V1 or V2.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Like either the original launch when everybody had huge hopes for it, and the reboot when everybody had huge hopes for it being good a second time.
I'll tell you honestly, everyone had huge hopes for V1. V2, nobody had huge hopes. Everybody was like, this is going to be dog shit. And Yoshida-san shocked the world with his miracle working.
Yeah. and he's done it again.
Oh, great.
And so I don't want to say anything spoilery. No story, no characters, no locations, nothing like that. But within the first 45 seconds of me starting the expansion and just getting into one cutscene, it played. And this isn't a spoiler. It's not that these songs are particularly important that I know of, but it played 2 different songs, and I was just like, "Wow, Soken is already going hard." I'm only a few inches into the expansion, and the music is already going to the wall. Okay, this is going to be great. But go ahead.
Soken is like, okay, look, we're gonna take 5 minutes because I know I just did a whole show like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, saying, hey, this is gonna be a space show. We're gonna not talk about New World. We're gonna not talk about fantasy stuff. But look, you just have to let me. Soken
it's also a brand new expansion.
Soken is a god. Soken is from his bed fighting cancer, was composing music and trying to get back to work because this man, like, to him, Final Fantasy is not a job. It is like his love affair. And god damn, I love that man. Any person, I don't care who the fuck you are or what game you're on, space game or not, any person who cares that much about the property he's working on is like too good for this world and needs to be cherished. Like, that dude is just next level. And
he wasn't just writing music from his cancer bed. He was writing some of the best bangers the series has ever seen. I said series. I don't mean Final Fantasy 14. I mean the Final Fantasy franchise.
Hell yeah, I dig it.
But anyway, so Soken is a god, but we need more than just music to sustain a good game. And because I'm not talking any spoilers, I can't really get any specifics about Endwalker, but the changes that they've made just to the base game are so good. I don't know what they did, but all combat feels more fluid. When you would push a button, there would be a slight delay before your character actually entered the animation and started doing the thing. Now it's immediate. It's snappy. Combat actually feels faster, and it's great.
So I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna flip the script and actually relate this back to space games, because I think we've had 2 big examples in the last decade. One of which has, let's say, maybe got off to a crazy good start and then rested on its laurels, and the other which had maybe a slower start but was super like intellectually honest and like did things without cutting any corners, no shortcuts, and I'm going to leave it to you to know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say names because I'm not trying to be like that, but like yeah, I think with Final Fantasy, it's true that it's like, if you do the work, if you put in the hard work to really do shit without shortcuts and not rest on your laurels, it will be recognized. Elix, go ahead. I know you wanted. I don't want to hijack it too much. Go ahead.
No, that's cool. No, it's all right. Anyway, because I'm not talking spoilers, I haven't played all of the jobs, and I haven't unlocked Sage or Reaper yet, so I can't say anything about how they play. Although from having them in my party, they seem pretty cool. Sages in particular seem to just make everybody just DPS harder, because their method of healing is, I heal by hurting people.
So it's kind of a riff not Summoner, but what's the Jesus, I'm blanking. What's the healer version of Summoner? Scholar. Where it's like Scholar is like, I heal through bubbles but also do a lot of buffs, and Astrologian was like, I do buffs and like speed stuff up. That's like a riff on that, where it's like, I heal through deeps in a way.
Yeah, and their abilities literally are like, when like a sage can throw a buff on another character in the party, and every time they do damage with an attack spell, that party member gets a heal.
Nice. That's a very
Literally,
similar,
like
very similar.
I shot this guy, so my friend gets buffed. It's great.
Very similar in New World to like Void Gauntlet, where it's like you do heals as you're doing damage. That's legit. I dig it. And Yoshida-san is famous for like, he plays all the things and looks at all the things in the genre, and it's like, hey, that's a cool idea. What can we do to riff on that and improve upon it even?
Yeah, exactly. I'm here, and exactly that. Yeah, that's something that Square Enix is entirely happy to let Creative Business Unit 3 do, is see what the other games are doing and try to do them better.
Right.
The job changes, some of them have been very welcome, like Black Mage. Enochian is now a talent. It's just, well, it's a trait that just automatically turns on when you reach the conditions to trigger Enochian. You don't actually have to push a button and keep a spinning plate going, which just makes the job easier to play and so much more fun because you don't have this constant timer that you have to juggle. And as soon as you lose it, your DPS potential falls into a pit.
Hell yeah.
Summoner has been completely reworked. I haven't even started getting my hands into that because it's such a low level, but I have been waiting. I've been saving it for when they finally changed it up to actually be more of a summoner instead of just throwing lots of damage over time.
Nice.
But anyway, my point is that I have not opened Star Citizen once since Endwalker launched, because when I've been able to get into the game, because of the huge traffic, but when I've been able to get into it, I have just been having way more fun. It is vastly improved. If you played Final Fantasy XIV in the past and fell off of it, and you have room for an MMO in your life, or in many people's cases, Kai, another MMO in your life,
oh, I can't go back.
Seriously look at it. If you don't have room for it, completely acceptable.
Yeah.
Don't be crazy.
I love,
but
I'm
my point is, I'm just putting a bow in what I was saying because we've been on my intro for a good while now. So, go ahead, Kai, and then we can let.
I absolutely love Final Fantasy XIV. I got every class to level 80. That was the end of Shadow Walkers, right? It was 80. Yeah. But I can't go back. It's too much right now. I need to focus on New World and Star Citizen for the most part, and then No Man's Sky, and I'm thinking maybe getting back into Elite, maybe around, I don't know, January, February, whatever. But like, I get it, man. I loved Final Fantasy like no other. There was a 2-year period where I played no game but Final Fantasy. So like, I get it 100%. So let's go. Let's move on to Tweaked. Tell us what you've been playing this week, what you've been doing, what you've been enjoying, what excites you. Just give us a little intro. We're gonna cover obviously New World coming up and Star Citizen coming up, but just give us what you've been doing this week.
Elite coming up. We're not covering New World tonight. Don't panic.
No. I meant Elite. I'm drunk. Don't ignore me.
New World on the mind. I know.
This is space.
Yeah, we're staying.
That's exactly what I've been doing this week, because I have pretty much split my time right straight down the middle. I've been digging head first into Star Citizen again now that I got my HOTAS totally up and running and remapped and everything. So I've been playing a whole lot of that this week, and I've been playing a lot of Odyssey and tried to get a bit of time in yesterday after the update happened. So.
Hell yeah. Okay. And gamers, what have you been playing this week, bro?
So it's probably not going to surprise anybody, but I've been playing Star Citizen. Trying to get myself out of prison because apparently I've been sent to prison 3 times in 1 week alone.
You naughty boy.
Stop breaking the law.
Breaking the
I
law.
can't help
breaking the law.
Go ahead.
I went and did it very quickly. I went and did a mission over at, I think it was over at Arcorp, and the guards looked the same as the bad guys, and I shot the guards, and I just like...
that put me in prison once too. I had the same thing. You couldn't tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys at first.
Well, stop shooting them in the spawn closet. Wait till they get out.
Oh no, these guys were
I'm
running
just
out. That's
fucking
the
with
thing,
you,
they
bro.
were running around. Yeah. It's like, do I shoot or do I not shoot? Because if I hesitate and you're a bad guy, you're going to shoot me and I'm going to be dead.
Here's the
But
deal.
yes, I've been playing Stars.
It's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Shoot first.
That's what.
And that's what puts us in prison.
Hey.
That's why I've been in prison.
Shit happens, bro. Shit happens when you party naked. Sometimes it bees that way. All right.
But
Go ahead.
and I've also been playing New World, and I also played a little New World too.
Right on. Right on. But we're not talking about that here. This is the Space Game Show. We don't talk about New World anymore. All right. So, getting on with it. How about we start with a little bit of let's start with some Nomansky. Nomansky switched up. They ended holy shit, that guy's strong. They ended the Expedition 1 and moved on to Expedition 2. I'm seeing somebody in the chat talking about how, like, yeah, I'm going to fire up Nomansky. Hell yes. Go have fun with that. Hey, Mike TV and Raiders. Hello, and welcome.
That's actually a buddy of mine. Shout out to Mike TV. It's Mike TV Live on Twitch. He's an original musician with like a catalog of, I think, 400 plus songs that he wrote.
Very cool.
Yeah, nothing to do with space.
No, but welcome, Mike TV and your people. Can I just point out, for those of you, we're talking about space games, one of which is Star Citizen, which has first off, an amazing composer, in-house composer, who does incredible music that you should check out, but also has several content creators, including Miguel Johnson, who has created, which you can go to Bandcamp and check out original compositions of his. There is so much fantastic music in regard to the the space genre and specifically Star Citizen. And there's even Miguel Johnson has done some amazing Elite Dangerous music as well. So there is some very good music in this genre. If you want to check it out, I highly recommend it. But okay, how about we start with, as I said, Nomansky. Has anybody done any of either Expedition 1 or Expedition 2 this week that they wanna talk about? All right.
Not played Nomansky at all this week.
Hey, you've been busy with some other stuff. How about we hop into some Elite Dangerous? We're gonna save Star Citizen for. Go ahead.
Just before we jump out of Nomansky, it is worth pointing out, isn't this the expedition that when you complete it, you get the Normandy?
I thought that was 3.
Or is that 3? Because I know that Sean tweeted about it on the official account recently, but I can't remember the details off the top of my head. But that's another reason to keep your eyes out on No Man's Sky and them bringing back the expeditions.
Hell yeah!
You get the Mass Effect crossover in Normandy. So, and all you have to do is just do the content. But anyway, yeah, I'm done.
Hell yeah. So let's start with a little bit of Elite Dangerous. Let's get into that. Then we're going to talk a little bit about, and I tell you now, I'm telling you up front, no spoilers. We're going to talk a little bit about Expanse Season 6, Episode 1 that dropped, officially today, but come on, everybody knows. Amazon drops their shit like 6 hours early. So it dropped last night. I watched Episode 1 last night for the first time, and then today for the second time, and then today for the third time. So let's start with Elite Dangerous. So Elite Dangerous dropped a patch, and in that patch, this is what, update 9, right? Right, Tweet? Update 9?
Correct.
And in that patch, they dropped a couple of things. So number one, they did some prelim work for Fleet Carrier Interiors. That's not out yet, but they did some work for that, like in preparation for that. And in the process, they accidentally made it possible for you to get a sneak peek inside on fleet carrier interiors. Obsidian Ant has done a video where he's like, here's how you can see the fleet carrier interiors, and here's what it is. Everyone, the 4 people that are still playing Elite Dangerous and making content for it have all done videos on, like, here's how you can do the thing that Obsidian Ant also told you could do. Tweaked, how about you give us a little your thoughts on this sneak peek, this way that people can kind of see a little bit of the fleet carrier interiors? And my understanding is that it actually is sort of a little bit exceeding expectations. People thought it was kind of going to be a little bit lamer than what the sneak peek sort of hints that it might be, which I think gives hope for, like, ooh, this looks kind of cool. What Tweak, why don't you start off with your thoughts on it, and everybody can hop in with their opinions as they go.
Well, everybody can go check this out on your own fleet carrier. The way people are doing this is with the new camera suite, because you don't get blacked out anymore when you come up to a wall. You can kind of push through the walls. But that being said, how they did it, they actually came out, because that leaked. FDev on their Thursday stream had a little 3-minute video that a dev pulled out of the current, what they were working on, which looked a little different. It was very similar, but it looked a little better. But as far as expectations, I'll be honest, mine, I feared and fully expected FDev to take the easy way out and basically put a space station interior, a concourse on our fleet carrier. And what I saw in this video actually blew my mind and gave me hope for the future, which is honestly something I have not had with Elite Dangerous in quite a long time. There are multiple levels. There's an elevator that takes you from one level to the next. There are multiple hallways and rooms. There is a very, in my opinion, Star Trek influenced, think Starship Enterprise bridge, where you've got a command console down low and you've got a commander's chair up a little higher overlooking, and you've also got a pile of chairs off to your left, presumably for your friends that are taking the trip with you to actually watch you jump. So it's a lot more than just the concourse, and that to me is a good sign, because for a long time FDev didn't do a lot more than the bare minimum, and now it appears that for once they have.
Possibly.
Now, of course, we'll have to wait and see them actually come out and see if there's any playability with the modules, if there's any customization in a captain's cabin or anything like that. I'm not expecting, but would be a bonus. But
right.
Just the interiors themselves, to me, is a great sign. And also another sign that in the future, if they can do interiors of a fleet carrier like this, then why couldn't they do interiors for ships down the line?
Okay. I mean, as you so correctly say, it remains to be seen yet. All we got so far is sort of a sneak peek, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But
they have said, though, and you did mention it, you are right, the fleet carrier interior update actually is coming, unless it gets delayed, of course, is with update 10, which is supposed to come shortly after the new year.
Yeah, so we'll see. There are 3, as far as I know, there are 3 big things to talk about with regard to Elite. The first is fleet carrier interiors. Does anybody else have any comments on fleet carrier interiors before we move on to topic 2? Anyone? Going once? Going twice? Go for it.
Yeah. So, I don't remember necessarily talking about it a lot on the show, but I definitely made my opinion clear in conversations that I had, like in a Discord server and stuff like that, that I expected fleet carrier interiors to just be station interiors transplanted into the fleet carrier. I expected Frontier to completely half-ass it. And from just what's actually in the game and the logical assumptions to make with the content that we're seeing, I'm wrong. And they are, at the very least, going to the effort of customizing the interior space to make it fit the notion of what is actually going to be inside that, and making a completely interior, not an interior, but a completely unique interior space. And that's great. I like to see that. There's a lot of spots of things that there's just widgets on the wall to just look at, and I don't think they're going to do anything. But that's just the next step for Frontier to take in developing this when they come back to it in like 6 months or a year, or maybe never, because it's Frontier. But it's very, now that they've built this as a platform, it's going to be really easy to paint it a different color. It's going to be really easy to put a panel in that allows you to control the color and brightness of the lighting, so that a fleet carrier owner can decide to make theirs look really menacing and like dimly lit, because they want to just have it look freaky and have that be part of the kind of the role play experience of who their commander is.
Klingon style.
Other people just want to be nice and clean. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You can see how there's lots of opportunities for them to just put on little things now that they've built this. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. We'll find that out in the future, but it's not a huge monumental thing for them anymore, because they've done this. They've taken the big step. So I'm hopeful for what could be in the future.
Yeah. Long story short is you're not drinking the Kool-Aid yet, but it exceeds what you were expecting so far. So cautiously optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wrong. And I'm going to say I was wrong. They've delivered beyond my expectations, and I'm interested to see what they do next.
All right.
Gamer said something, I think.
Gamers, go for it.
Yeah. So obviously, look, I do play Elite. Not as much as Star Citizen, but I do play it. And Obsidian Ant put a video up, which I've got on the other screen at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually quite impressed. I think that the interior of the fleet carrier is absolutely beautiful. I would disagree with ELIX and Tweet where you guys say you're wrong. To me, this does look like interiors of stations, but yes, they have reworked them. So credit where credit is due.
But more than just that, it's not like you're just walking up a stairway and there's all your 4 things like you are in a station. Pretty much.
They didn't do Control-C, Control-V. They took the same parts and made something new with them.
Yeah, they're there. And it looks like it's modifiable too, if you notice, because there's some walls that just had a blank wall, and then it showed another shot where there was like a ship store there or something, so you can manage your shipyard and everything. So I think it's going to be modifiable based on what you have on your carrier, which is interesting.
And there was also like a holographic room too, which was showing up Python as well. But what I was going to say was that the thing where I think you might be mistaken is that I think that the way they've designed these fleet carriers is that they are mobile space bases. I think that is a lot easier to incorporate in internals for than, say, a ship, which actually might be listed as a vehicle. So there could be issues there. That the reason they might be doing the fleet carriers first is because they are easier. But like I say, from what I saw on the inside, it looks absolutely beautiful. They've done an amazing job. I'm actually quite impressed. Yeah, I think it's great.
Okay. Very, very cool. So far, and again, we don't have the details. So this isn't a judgment on what all we're getting. This is a judgment on a sneak peek. We reserve the right to make whatever, but it seems to be a mostly thumbs up from the gang with the limited amount of information we have at the moment about fleet carrier interiors. I want to address real quick. Somebody in the chat said, "Oh yeah, and they broke the fire groups, dude." I'm going to say this as nicely as possible. I don't mean to be rude. I love you, bro. But like, you just got to get over it. They introduced new modules that had like multi-limpet controllers. That's going to fuck with fire groups. It's Frontier. you're just going to have to take 20 minutes and on all of your ships redo the fire groups. It's just a thing. It's
no,
not it's
a little more
not
than that.
but I mean it's not the end of the world. It's just redo
Right,
your
it's
fire
patch day,
groups.
but it is a little more, especially on console, because it's not just a matter of going in and redoing your fire groups, because a lot of times you can't. So half the people seem to be able to just go in, and all the fire groups have been wiped. Some of us can go and remap them, regroup them. Others don't have that ability. It just doesn't save. It crashes the game, and they can't do anything. So
Oof,
that's a problem.
rough. That's rough.
There's a
I didn't
patch
know
coming out
that.
on Monday. Yeah, there's a patch coming out on Monday to resolve that.
Okay. So I apologize. I was an asshole who was not speaking with full information. I thought it was just standard Frontier. Everything is broken on patch day. Get over it. But apparently it's way worse than that. My apologies. And oof. Frontier, try to do a little better. The second thing of the big three that I have, and then after I'm gonna open it up to tweak to add to it if there's any more things. But the second of the big three things is the multi-limpet controller, which we just sort of touched upon on the last issue of the fire groups being fucked. Here's my opinion on the multi-limpet controller, and please feel free to hop in, each of you, with your thoughts on what might differ, what you agree with me on, what you disagree with me on, additional observations you may have. We asked and have been asking forever for a Frontier. Give us multi-limpet controllers, specifically, for the most part, let's be honest, with regard to exploration ships to be able to do stuff when you're 40,000 light years out in the black. Frontier, in its inimicable wisdom, decided to give a couple of different flavors of multi-use limpet controllers and largely made them nerfed to the point where they're not really all that useful and stupidly heavy to the point where you would never fucking put one on an exploration ship, which makes me sad in the pants. My feeling is that while some of these multi-use limpet controllers may be useful for certain builds on certain ships, it's pretty much fucking trash for exploration ships, and that makes me feel like they missed the whole fucking point. Tweaked, explain to me why I'm wrong.
I don't know that you are wrong. Honestly, in this regard, they're way heavier than I expected them to be. But I will say where you're wrong is you say that was the second biggest thing. I think that's a distant fourth biggest thing, honestly. But the limpets themselves, to me, they're no big deal. But yeah, they're what are they, like 10 pounds or 10 kilograms or whatever the weight measurement is. I can't think of it right now, but they're heavy, and you're gonna lose probably, I'd say 3 to 4 light year jump range out of having one of those on your exploration ship. Probably, it's just not viable really for that. But it'd be great for like the ship that I built to jump around the bubbles to hunt out the high grade manufactured. So I'm chasing all those signal sources.
Oof.
It'd be great for that kind of thing, but not really exciting. To me, the second best thing in this patch was the combat SRV.
Whoa. That's the next subject. You got to wait your turn, brother. Does anybody
numbers?
Does that no? I'm not. No, I didn't say they were in order. I'm just saying there were 3 big things, A, B, and C. I'm just randomly pulling them. So wait your turn. Anyone else? Do you have anything on the multi-limpet controller? Otherwise, we'll move on to the third thing, which I was going to say next, which is that combat the Scarab. Does anybody have anything on the multi-limpet controller? I know you guys don't play all that much Elite, but no? All right. So then we'll move on to the combat SRV, the Scorpion or whatever the fuck. Yeah. So here's my thoughts on it. Number one, I feel like looking at it, it should be a little zippier compared to the Scarab. I'm a little curious with regard to, like, that one from the concept drawing was very different than what we saw here. The Scorpion is kind of similar to what I thought we were going to get with regard to, remember there was that Yamex leak a while back where he had somebody pull video of whatever, and we even had it on this show. We talked about it. I like it. I think it's cool. There has been a little bit of an uproar in the community because apparently there was at least a good chunk of the community that thought that the Scorpion was going to be available for Horizon and Odyssey. Now, that wasn't ever explicitly stated, and in fact, Frontier did come out at the sort of the 11th hour and say, like, no, this is Odyssey only. And I want to be fair and say that I completely understand Frontier's position of saying, like, we want to drive people to our new product. Come and buy our new product. Of course we're going to, make this a incentive for people to come and, buy Odyssey. I get that, no problem. I have no problem with that. I think absolutely it's just smart business to include new toys and dangle them in front of people as an incentive to purchase your new product. Except, and oh my God, is this a huge except? If you're in a situation, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say I am selling widgets, right? And I'm selling widgets to PC players and widgets to console players. And I tell my PC players and my console players, I don't know, say a year ago, this exact time last year, you guys will be able to get the new widgets come Q1 of 2021. And then come Q1 of 21, I say, whoops, I lied. PC players, you can get it Q2 of 2021. Console players, go fuck yourself. You'll get it at some point in the future, maybe, or not, ? And then I say, hey, this new Combat SRV, it's only available to people who bought Odyssey. Now, for PC players, I feel like that's completely fair. You have the opportunity to buy Odyssey. If you want to get to play with the new toys, buy Odyssey. But for console players, I feel like, holy shit, are you rubbing salt in that wound of, like, buy Odyssey if you want the thing, and the console players are like, motherfucker, I wanted to buy Odyssey half a year ago when you told me I could, and you won't let me. So I kind of feel like, oof, that's rubbing salt in that wound so hard. Tweaked, please, for the love of God, tell me why I'm wrong.
You're not. I'll let ELIX tell you why they couldn't put it in Horizons, and I do agree with ELIX on that point. I will also say I honestly don't see a need for it for anything you do in Horizons.
Can I point out something and maybe change your mind? Let's say I'm an Xbox player
and I've had nothing new.
Whoa. Let's say I'm an Xbox player who has had nothing new and is going to a Guardian site to drive around and shoot those little fucking drones so I can pick up pieces for my Guardian engineering. I might want a Scorpion, no?
Maybe, but you can do it just as well in the Scarab. There's nothing in Horizons that you can do with a Scorpion better than you can do with a Scarab. The opposite is not true. In Odyssey,
I can think of one thing.
Go for it.
Isn't the Scarab 2 people?
no.
The Scarab is no. The
Scorpion.
The Scorpion is
The Scorpion
2 people.
is-
Sorry, the Scorpion. Yeah, no. See, this is the problem. I've just called it the SRV for so long that I forget that it's actually called the Scarab.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, but the Scorpion is 2 people. So if the Scorpion is 2 people, that means one person can drive and one person can be in the developer camera filming.
Oh wait.
So you can now while while the beloved Horizons planets are still there, if they had put the Scorpion into Horizons, you could have like sort of fanfare finale hooning videos where you have a hooning expert in the driver's seat and then you have somebody coming along just to be a camera and filming from within the vehicle.
No.
That's the one thing.
No.
That is the one thing that you could do, and it's really not that important for most people.
Nah, they didn't really want. They didn't really want multiplayer in Horizons mode. That was only Odyssey.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Frontier has any reason to do that, but that is the one thing that just look at the Scorpion. What it can do. Well, you can put a second person in. What can we do with that?
Okay.
That is the one thing, and whether it fits or not. Anyway,
Tweaked had a response to that.
Finish with Tweaked.
Go ahead, Tweaked.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we're getting a little sidetracked here, talking about should they or should they not have given this to console.
Okay.
I'm of the mindset anything that they can give to console at this point, they should, just because.
What
other
is
than
the
broken shit?
So
there's nothing new over there.
So let's examine that statement that you just made. What are the technical limitations, if any, that you can see that would stop them from putting this in for console
the
players?
answer to that one.
Whoa! Tweak. Go ahead.
They would have to downgrade the graphics, the details of the graphics. I guess the layers or the. I think ELIX probably has the more technical term for what I'm trying to say.
That's what I actually want to talk about.
Go ahead.
So I don't want to steal Tweak's thunder, and if he wants to say anything else about this, go ahead.
I just want to actually talk about the performance of the Scorpion before we're done here.
Go for it. Go ahead, Tweak.
No, well, as far as that goes, I gotta say, and I think I've said on the show before, I personally was not a fan of the Scarab. I didn't like the way it controlled. It made me nauseous to drive it around all the time, like motion sickness. It was not fun for me to drive. The Scorpion, absolutely, I enjoy driving that a whole lot more so far. It's a lot more responsive. It's slower than the Scarab, but it's a lot more responsive. And the reason, Kai, you said it looks like it should be zippier. I disagree with that because it's armored. It can take a little bit of a beating, so that's keeping you heavier now, so you're slower.
Okay.
But it's way more responsive, and it can climb hills like a motherfucker. I mean, that thing can go up hills like
Nice.
the Scarab could not.
Nice.
So I just the responsiveness to it makes it so I actually enjoy driving this. So I will now keep one in my ship and drive to the settlements or whatever when I need to park a little ways away to stay away from the turrets and stuff. So I actually prefer the Scorpion over the Scarab at this point. And I have yet to try out the multiplayer aspect of it, but I can imagine having a turret runner in another player in the turret, taking out those settlement guns, or when I'm caught in a corner and my buddy comes around in the Scorpion and shoots a rocket to clear my way or something, I can definitely see a use for this.
Okay. So let's now transition to let ELIX. He had a thing that he wanted to talk about with regard to the Scorpion and the performance and whatnot. Go for it.
Yeah, so basically, there's one major change that happened with Odyssey that really limits Frontier in this situation. And when I say limits, I mean it puts them in an uncomfortable position, and they chose to resolve it the way that they did, and just be like, yeah, well, it's just for Odyssey. Sorry.
Okay.
They didn't say sorry, but what it is Odyssey introduced PBR, physics-based rendering. And that is a texturing and lighting solution to make the way light moves over surfaces and reflects off surfaces and glare and so on. It changes how that interacts to be more realistic and it looks better.
Yeah.
Star Citizen uses PBR, and they've been using it since 2015. And at the time they had to go through a big transition, and because the problem is that it is a completely different solution. It's different math. It's different texturing. It's the way you author the textures themselves are different. So when they made the Scorpion, there came a point where they decided we're building this as a PBR asset. Like we're putting the PBR textures and using the PBR system on it, and we're putting it in Odyssey.
Yes, but
so
they
if they were to say we're going to put it in
it.
Horizons as well, they now have to reauthor the textures completely so that it works in the old system. Now, they should be able to take the actual model and move it back across easy, but they have to completely redo how all the textures work, because the new textures, the PBR textures, are incompatible with Horizons. So it would be more work. They would basically have to do the same job twice in order to make it work in both games, because Odyssey is essentially a different game within Elite Dangerous.
They are
now,
doing that
I'm
already.
not going to get into the argument of, because everybody's going to have their own thoughts and it's completely valid. I'm not going to get into whether they should have put that time in, because as I said, everybody's got their own position, and some people are going to be salty about it. Some people are going to be accepting. That's fine.
They're already wait, ELIX. They're already maintaining the game on multiple versions. It would just be a matter of they would have to downscale. It's not that big a deal.
Well, no, they would have to make the textures like this is the difference between oil painting and crayons.
In my mind, you
don't just go
twice in two different ways.
That's exactly it. Like this is the difference between using like watercolors and house paint.
Okay.
You don't be like, okay, we've got this really beautiful thing here. Now let's strip it all off and do it again.
All right.
They would have to retexture it all completely. It's not just turn the scaling down.
We have spent about as much time as I'm willing to on Elite. So I'm going to wrap this up and say, Tweaked, add anything else that you want to specifically with regard to Elite. I know Drew Wagar sort of wrapped up his little tour.
Yep.
I know there's some other stuff. Go ahead. Hit him quick.
Also with Update 9, there was a light texture fixing. So now when you land on a planet that is close to a star, and especially if it's like sunrise or sunset, the color hue of that star will be shown on the ground more appropriately now. And the differences are pretty staggering, really. It looks pretty good. There's a lot of times that it's pretty gorgeously breathtaking when you land on a planet nowadays.
Yeah, that's nice. They're still not showing the multiple light sources for multi-star systems. They're still not showing shadows for external objects, such as if there's a ring or whatever. But I have heard that the actual lighting itself, with regard to the hues for the various types of stars, is nice.
Yes.
Right on.
Yep.
All right.
And Drew Wagar, whom most of you listening probably know as a science fiction author, longtime player and supporter of Elite Dangerous. He wrote novels. He has done streams for years. He basically just wrapped up his 07 tour, which was his farewell tour for Elite Dangerous. And he put out a little video the other day of his Armstrong moment in his Cuddy Black touching down on an alien world. And he is moving over to Star Citizen after the new year begins to start streaming that, because he did a stream a couple weeks ago just to test his computer.
Yep.
To see, can I run this?
And he was surprised.
And he was like, holy crap, it runs. Guess what I'm going to be doing now? So we get to see some good quality stuff from Drew. He's going to have a lot to love, I think.
I want to respond to
he did a stream.
Yeah. I want to respond to something I see in the chat. I see from Commander Arson Cross in the chat. Everywhere I go, it seems like people seem to think that Odyssey content should be free for Horizons users. Yeah, you maybe didn't understand what I was saying, so I'll say it again a little slower. I don't think that Odyssey content should be free. I 100% agree that Frontier should charge people for Odyssey content. However, the problem comes in the fact that Frontier lied to console users and told them that they would be able to get Odyssey content in Q1 of 2021. We are now moving into 2022 with no fucking plan or announcement or date of when Odyssey players or console players will get access to Odyssey. So my problem isn't that Frontier wants to charge people for Odyssey content. My problem is that when you have clients, customers that you've told they would be able to buy something a year ago, and you still haven't given them the opportunity to buy it, and then you punitively tell them they don't get access to this content that other people do right now because they haven't bothered to buy the thing that you refuse to sell them, that is a little awkward.
Well, not just awkward, but I mean, it's been building and it's coming to a head pretty soon. I think after the new year, FDev is going to have to say something about the console plan. They were getting reamed about it on the last two streams. Every Facebook post or Twitter post I see from Elite Dangerous, the comments are regarding the console release. I know my console friends are getting impatient waiting for it. I will say that when the update happened, something did change on Xbox. If you go to your right panel, you now have the storage tab that you get for your on-foot mats. That's an Odyssey edition. That's now there on Xbox, which is maybe they're starting to prep things. I don't know, but it's coming to a head, and they need to say something soon.
So fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll get an answer on that soon. Real quick, last thing, Tweaked. Do you have anything else that you want to wrap up on Elite before we move on to Star Citizen?
Nope, I don't think I do. I guess just to circle back around, update 9 has done well. I've seen people's FPS. My FPS has stayed the same, but I've seen other people's talk that theirs has gone up.
Nice.
So that's good. And I can say personally, when I play Star Citizen and it bugs out on me and I shut it off and I go play Elite, I lose my ship interiors and whatnot. But what I'm trying to do typically doesn't bug out and it works, which is not something you could always say. So that's a plus.
All right, very cool. All right, let's move on. We're going to save Star Citizen for the last. How about we move on to the Expanse? Now, I want to be very, very clear with the entire panel and say the Expanse dropped last night. The release date was today, but everyone who's new to Amazon Prime, let me just go ahead and tell you, whenever they say they're going to drop something on a Friday, what they mean is they're going to drop it Thursday night around 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, somewhere in that range, Eastern time. They always do that. Now, I don't know if maybe when they say they're dropping something on Friday, they mean Friday, like GMT, like Englandy time or whatever. But like it always comes out early. So Wheel of Time, well, the new episodes every Friday. Really Thursday night around 8, 9, 10 o'clock, depending. It floats a little bit, but it's always like 5 to 8 hours early. And we are not going to spoil anything of the Expanse. Everyone, I've said this like 3 times clearly. We're not going to spoil the Expanse. Having said that, holy fuck was it. It was good. I watched it last night at like 9 o'clock at night. I watched it again this morning. And then I watched it again this afternoon. I've seen episode 1 3 times. And I got to say, the beginning bit, I'm not going to even say what I'm referring to, but the beginning bit, I was like, wait, what? They're doing this? Like, I knew they were doing it a little bit from the picture that we had preseason, but the way that they did it, like in depth, I was shocked, and I'm super excited to see like where is that going to go. The the rest of the episode itself, I loved it. I was super excited, and I also was a little bit worried, like, man, how are they going to do this in 6 episodes? Like, I need 30 episodes. So, just throwing it out there. The Expanse is out. I've posted it in our Discord, and I've had multiple people respond to that going, wait, what? The Expanse is out? What are you talking about? It's out? I thought it was next week. I didn't know it was coming. Whatever. So, yeah, go to Amazon Prime. Check it out. It's legit. I'm super excited. Without spoiling anything, let's run through the cast. Does anybody have anything they want to add with regard to the Expanse of your excitement or whatever? Go for it.
Oh, you know, I'm excited. I have not seen it yet, so I can't spoil anything. I have to make it through this week of work, and then I'm on vacation for 2 weeks, so I certainly will be catching up on all these different shows at that point in time. But I have loved every season of The Expanse. One gets better than the last, and this being the last, I'm with you. 6 episodes, unless each episode is 2.5 hours long, I don't know how they can fit it all in. So I'll be curious to see, though. I'm excited to watch it and see how this turns out.
Hell yeah. ELIX gamers, you got anything you want to add on The Expanse, or you want to stay mum?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to watch it. I love The Expanse. I absolutely love it. I'm scheduled to watch it later today. It's on my to-do list. There's literally one thing that's like highlighted. It's The Expanse. Yeah, I want to. I'm sad that this is possibly the last season for it. I love the show, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with it, because like season 5 was just amazing.
Now, did you guys hear, real quick, because you say that it's possibly the end? It is the last season of this current whatever iteration of it. But Telltale Games is already doing a story where it's going to be following the continuing adventures or whatever of Kamina Drummer. And I am like super all in, psyched for that. Did you guys hear about that? There's going to be an Expanse video game coming up that's going to be one of those Telltale Games style-y like
last
stories.
I knew Telltale Games was actually out of business, but I used to play those games.
So just to be clear, I'm sorry. I mean that it's going to be a Telltale Games style story. I'm not saying it's going to be necessarily them, but it's going to be that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's basically like a story game. For you, those of you that don't know what Telltale Games were, they were like telling you it's like you choose your own adventure kind of story, and at certain points you have to make a choice or make an action to do something. They did a bunch of Walking Dead games back in the day and a couple Batman games that were pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a point-and-click adventure, basically. Just with
but
a lot more cinematics than what used to be.
Heavily story-based, yeah. Well, ELIX, did you got any thoughts you want to share on that, or you want to just hold off for now?
I haven't actually seen that there's a video game for it, and I haven't seen the new Expanse stuff, so I got nothing to really chip in, but more space stuff, how can you complain about that?
For sure. Okay.
And just
go ahead.
Just quickly, I do want to say that they said while this is the last season, it doesn't necessarily mean the show is finishing. They did mention that just because it's more of a break than a stoppage. From what I've been hearing, is that they are actually possibly going to be continuing on later with it, but for some reason they need a break or something. Something along those lines.
So I want to clarify for maybe people who haven't read the books. There is a natural stopping point at the end of this book. That where it. Okay, how do I do this without spoilers? I'm going to do this without spoilers, but I'm just going to point out that at the end of the season that this book, or at the end of the book that this season would be representing, there is a natural stopping point where then the story skips ahead for a good chunk of time, and then it comes back through the viewpoint mostly of a different character that may or may not be available anymore for them to use for those purposes. And it's like decades later and heavily through a different viewpoint. So there may be a very natural stopping point where they end the story on as it exists now, but maybe pick it up a year or two later in a movie format or in a different something. It's not a situation where it's like, well, you're going to leave us on a stupid cliffhanger. Like, no, the story at the end of the season that this book that this season represents ends at a fairly good ending point, and then there's a next arc. It's kind of like 1, 2, and 3 are a complete sort of story. 4, 5, and 6 are a complete story. 7, 8, and 9 are a complete story, and the 3 stories tie together in an overarching saga, if you will. And so it does sort of make sense for.
I've never heard of that before in my life.
What do you mean?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it's all one big saga. Doesn't sound familiar at all.
Oh yeah, okay. You were being. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I was making a stupid joke.
Yes,
yeah,
no. I get it now.
Keep going. Keep going.
I get it. Yeah. So yeah, but done in a way that doesn't make Luke Skywalker sad in the pants. Sorry, House of Mouse, you can suck a dick. Yeah. So it could be cool. Who knows? Whatever. Yeah. Anything else on Game of Thrones? Jesus fucking Christ. Anything else on Expanse before we move on to getting into Star Citizen? Going once?
No, I'm good.
Going twice? That takes us to Star Citizen. All right. Holy cow, is there some stuff to talk about. We talked about rumors last week about there's some people that are getting their hands on some super early beta builds of Squadron 42, and that sort of meets the timeline. And interestingly enough, for anyone paying attention, CIG has been like, what, bro? Huh? What? I'm looking at anything else other than that. I'm not addressing that subject at all, which, let's say, if it was fake, I would have expected them to respond in some way to be like, what are you talking about? That's bullshit. The fact that they're being completely mum on the subject means one of two things. Either A, they're just taking the standpoint of like, we're not going to talk about anything at all. We're not going to confirm or deny, and that way no one has anything to, go from. Or it could be that it's kind of accurate, question mark. But whatever, either way, I feel like there's no point in chasing down the logic of that one, because it's either true or it's not true, and either which way, we're not going to know. We do know that the timelines about match up, that this would be about when you would need to be doing it. And I'm just super stoked. And if you are in the inner super squirrel secret evocati that has access to this, keep your fucking mouth shut. Don't leak nothing to nobody. Don't show anything off. Keep doing God's work and do your shit under the radar. Don't leak to me. Don't leak to anyone. Just do what you're supposed to do. And if you're CIG and you're doing this, fucking A, let me send you a beer. God bless you. So let's just leave that one be completely. But I just wanted to point out that in the last week, we haven't heard no. And when you don't hear no, well, never mind. So there's also 3.16, 3 different builds, 3 different patches have hit Evocati. It's going to be light, let's be honest. 3.16, you don't want to be heavy, because this shit's going to be hitting wide PTU soon and being released maybe around Christmas time. Like, you don't, Anyone who was around for 3.14 hitting in Christmas knows you do not want a massive patch hitting right before they go on break for 2 weeks. That's a recipe for disaster. 3.16 is going to be a little light. Okay. It's going to be some fixes and some whatevers and some, whatnot. 3.17 is right on track for the serious progress. 3.18, 3.19, like I'm happy with what I see on the horizon. You guys, 3.16 hitting Ivocati, my sort of summation on things, your thoughts, hop in, let's go. Why don't we start with ELIX and then gamers?
Well, we know it is an Evocati now. There's a good number of Evocati tier bugs that you would expect, but they are working on them at pretty much a reasonable clip. And they kind of gotta because they want to go home for the holidays. So they've only got about 2 more weeks to get this done and wrapped. But the thing that I'm really excited to see is the Gravlev rework because I've got a Nox and I have a Dragonfly in buyback, and neither one has really felt very good to fly for a long time. But I'm really excited for them actually working properly, so I can just bomb it all over the place on planets. And because I already have fun enough with doing it with a Cyclone, now just take wheels out of the equation and you're in for a good time. So that's the first thing I'm thinking of that for a 316.
Yeah, I would say at the end of the day, the Gravelift is definitely cool. It's needed. It's long overdue. Obviously, the Gravelift on the existing vehicles on the Nox and whatnot has been terrible. So obviously, it's good that they're polishing it. But as for the patch being light, look, I would side with Twerk here. I would say it's not necessarily light because they're going to be doing a whole bunch of bug fixing, but we'll get to that in a sec. Do you want to talk about the other stuff there that's in the patch?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the other stuff that's there, this is the stuff that I'm interested in, is things like the atmospheric boundaries, the boundary missions, or the derelict missions. Sorry. We're also getting a new hospital as well.
Mm.
Like I say, like obviously the first thing we should probably talk about is these bounties that are going to be popping up all over the place. Now they've said they're going to be
atmospheric bounties, so we're going to be dogfighting in atmosphere. I mean that's badass. That's cool as hell. That right there makes it not light. Throw derelict freighters onto that. This is the kind of content that's going to hang around for the life of the game. It's significant content, which to me makes it not light. Sure, it doesn't have the width of stuff that 315 does, but I would contend most patches aren't gonna.
When I say a little bit lighter, I'm referring to the fact that there was a good chunk of stuff that was removed or pushed back from 3.16 into later patches. But again, I'm not saying that as criticism. I think that's just smart planning. I think from a business standpoint, when you're going to have 2 weeks off for the holidays in the month, it's just stupid to overly pack it and then have a bunch of shit that can go wrong and leave your customer base sort of, hey, I've got 2 weeks off of work. Oh, I can't really. Like 3.14, let's be honest. 3.14 during the Christmas. Wait, no, not 3.14. I'm sorry. It was 3.12 was last Christmas. 3.12 was pretty fucking unplayable for the 2 weeks that Christmas was off. Like people were off for Christmas. And then they came back, and within a week, it was so much better. And so, like, I think that it's just smart to do it this way. Is all that I meant by that. But I think I interrupted you, gamers. Go ahead.
Yes, I would actually agree with you. At the end of the day, look, obviously the patch itself, it's still got some decent stuff in there. You know, other stuff that we can talk about in a sec with like the heads, the new DNA heads and stuff like that, and the new hospital and stuff. But at the end of the day, let's face it, there are some legacy bugs that are still in from 3.15.1 things like rocks not being able to be scanned when you do mining and stuff like that. This is stuff that's, like Star Citizen has a few game loops, but the most well-developed game loop is mining. And half the time at the moment, the rocks aren't scanning because of the small hitbox when it comes to the scanning beam. So, and this is the thing that the first patch that literally came out, the A patch, was literally dealing with rocks and minables, and it's been in there as a known issue, and they're trying to work on it. This patch, I would say, for everybody that's like, oh my God, it's gutted. It's like, okay, yeah, there's not things that we wanted, like salvage, but it's going to be a quality of life patch, which means, hey, while COG is away for 2 weeks, we're going to be sitting there doing Jump Town, which we'll talk about, don't worry. We're talking about Jump Town, doing Jump Town while also playing the game and having a decent patch over Christmas while they're running on skeleton stuff. I think this is the best idea that CIG's had. We've had 3 patches earlier this year that have been knocking it out of the park. 3.15 was amazing. And I guess people have just got to the point where like they've had this really amazing patch, and now we've got this patch that people are referring to as gutted. It's sort of like, well, yeah, this patch looks light because we just got amazing inventory systems.
And I want to be clear. I'm not saying it's gutted. I'm saying it's lighter, and it should be. And we're going to get into
the general consensus, I think, amongst the media, so to speak. Everybody is saying it's kind of gutted this time around, that it's light, but
and we're going
to mostly, I think, because they're looking at the last 2 that were probably monumentally huge. So, and
we're going to get into in just a moment a little bit about Jump Town specifically, but yeah, all right. So
yeah, but the other thing as well is not only were the last 2 patches really huge, but the people say they were quote unquote gutted 3.16 because they moved a bunch of things off, but all that down to 3.17 or whatever. But all that means is the devs were optimistic that they could try to get them done before the end of the year and slip them into the patch and make people that much happier going into the end of year break. And it didn't work out for this, that, and the other thing. And they're still working on those things. They're still going to come in, and they've got all these other things that is now a smaller list, but it's still going out. So they've still got. But yeah,
I see the chat and no mention about totally unscannable rocks. I hope that gets fixed. That is actually one of the things that is legitimately on the list where they're like, yeah, we have to address this, and they have, as I understand it, in the Evocati build, some fixes with regard to that it should be a thing for sure. Let's be honest.
What I was just thinking about.
Yeah, I think that I think that what you're going to see in 3.15 going forward and 3.16 and in 3.17, you're going to see sort of the accumulation of wealth be a little easier. I think that they understand that they just did a reset, and they want to see people accumulate wealth so that they can track the metrics of all of that and how it's accumulated, how it's dispersed, how, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully with less sort of dupes and whatever than were in previous iterations, so that they can sort of try to track things and figure out the metrics of the accumulation of wealth and whatever for ongoing purposes of like, all right, this is how this is going to work when our economy goes live. And I mean, this is a baby version of the economy, but it's still something of it. So yeah, so that's, I think you're going to see definitely, trading much more viable and money making from that continue to be more viable. You're going to see mining be more viable and money making from that more viable. You're going to see all of the different things to be, more viable going forward. So let's get a little bit into Jump Town. I said we were going to talk about that, going forward. this Jumptown isn't going to be like the last Jumptown. This Jumptown is going to be, I think, much more of an FPS sort of event. That's what they have indicated they sort of want to see as, I think a perfect opportunity to test out a ton of the medical and survival gameplay aspects and looting and whatnot. Are you guys excited for a more, like just as a different flavor, a different Jumptown that's much more FPS?
Sure.
Oh, hell yeah! Like, so I was around with the original Jumptown, and there was FPS combat that went on, not as much as what's going to be this time around,
Yeah.
but there was FPS that was going around. There was snipers that
Some.
would perch themselves up on.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think it's going to be more FPS combat, and I am like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, just give me Jumptown now. I want it. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing, and it's going to be extremely profitable. This is obviously what we're just saying is that they're going to change. They're going to obviously chase metrics. They're going to keep an eye on metrics. If you're getting $600 a box for the drugs that you confiscate or that you sell, like that, I think the Avenger Titan was worth $57,000 just for an Avenger Titan full of drugs. Like, it is going to be raining money, but that money that you make, you're going to have to be putting into buying ship stuff. So the economy is really they're really going to get some good metrics out of this, because people are going to be buying ships, people are going to be buying weapons for their ships, components for their ships, shield generators, it's bullets, armor, and we've also got quantum being tied into it as well, which we'll talk about in a sec too, I presume.
Yeah. So basically, starting in, I think it was 3.15, quantum started to get tied into some bits of the, it got turned on, started. But it's continuing to expand and will be continuing to expand either every patch or every other or every third, whatever. It'll just could be a continual evolution from this point forward for the continuation of the project. You're going to see more and more features of quantum turn on. You're going to see it expanded more and more as it goes forth. And I want to respond to Kit Harrington in the chat, who says that my LH86 Pathfinder pistol is invisible in the latest patch of 3.15.1. And I just want you to know, that's not a bug, that's a feature. It's stealth mode. Shh, don't tell anyone. You'll ruin it. Ruin it! Who wants to hop in on the Jumptown FPS stuff? I think Tweak definitely had a thing he wanted to talk about, and then also on the continuation of, the expansion of the interactions with regard to Quanta, and et cetera, et cetera.
I'm gonna jump in, but I'll do that after Tweaked.
Go ahead, Tweaked.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Jumptown. I obviously was not around for the first one. I really have no clear understanding as to what that was or what this is going to be. But Xenothreat was one of the most amazing gaming experiences I've ever had, and it was profitable as hell. So if Jumptown is anything close to as good as that, I'm in, and I can't wait.
Nice. ELIX, hop in, my brother.
All right. So very quickly, for anybody who doesn't know what Jumptown is, the very, very simple explanation is that for a range of time in the 3.x patches, Jumptown, which is one of the unmarked illegal drug labs that's on one of the moons, it's unmarked normally, but you can get missions that send you there, and that's generally how people found it. But you can navigate yourself there without the mission toggled if you know where to go. But anyway, Jumptown has a drug terminal where it buys precursors to make drugs, and it sells drugs. And then you take those and you sell them at Grimhex, and you used to be able to sell them at Levski, I think, but anyway, doesn't matter. You sell the drugs, you make the money. And during this period, the game basically just refreshed the supply every 5 minutes with, on every server, just with tons of drugs. You could fill your ship all the way to the gills and then fly back, and it was a huge moneymaker.
Now, wait.
Course,
Let me hop in real quick to say, this was not intended by the game makers. The devs were shocked by this. They were like, "Oh shit, we fucked up somehow. We're spawning massive amount of drugs. Holy shit, this is turning into cool gameplay. Let it go for a little while, I guess." And then they were like, and they got cold feet after a little bit, and they were like, "We got to stop it. This could potentially break the economy." But I please continue with your explanation, Elix. I just wanted to hop in to say this was not a thing they intended to do.
This wasn't planned.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, the players noticed that Jumptown had this broken economy, and just basically it was all emergent player behavior. Players just turned this into a thing, and the devs just went, "Wait, you're doing what?"
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, so yeah, Jumptown was just producing tons of drugs. You could fill your ship up with drugs and then go make tons of money and come back. But Jumptown also had no armistice zone. It was a free PvP zone because it's a secret, illegal underground drug lab. Now, when I say underground, I mean black market, not literally built into the floor. That might actually be what Jumptown 2 is. It may actually have a bunker underneath it or something. I'm just speculating. I have no idea. We'll find out. But that was because it was this open field. It was free PvP, which when you're dealing with a criminal activity like drug dealing, it's very profitable to show up and take somebody else's ship after they've filled it with drugs. Because then you're not buying the drugs, you're just selling the drugs. You skip the first step, you make all the money. Yeah. And so that turned it into a complete free-for-all, and emergent behavior turned up where you had clans. I say clans in the sense of like gangs, where they would lock down Jump Point, and anybody trying to fly in without a big crew of ships to chase them away would just get shot down. You had people lock down Jump Point and say, "Everybody come in and get your drugs and sell them. Be nice, line up, do this in an orderly fashion. We're under control here. If you're coming for PvP, we've got 3 hammerheads. Take us on. We're going to screw you." At the time that the hammerhead was simply the argument ender. And it turned into this entire dynamic where, it was this massive event where players just created gameplay out of an economy bug. And so the devs went, "This is showing us that gold rushes create conflict. And that's something we can make our economy simulation create." So SIG could actually create a Jumptown anytime they wanted, just by going over and saying, "Hey, illegal outpost on this moon. Poke, now you're worth 10 times more than you should be. And we're just going to let players find that out on their own."
Now, it has been said by some people who are like, "Well, this Jumptown's going to suck because the original Jumptown was just emergent gameplay. It was not expected. It was not announced. And this one, it's going to be announced by CIG, and they're going to be like, everybody go there. And that's going to ruin the whole point because it's not as organic and not whatever." And it's like, okay, you're right. If they were doing the exact same event again, but telegraphing it. This is not the exact same event. This is going to be, from what we know, a much more FPS focused one, and it's going to be a whole different thing. So it's like, cool. Maybe it's going to suck. Maybe it's going to be awesome. But assuming it's going to suck before it comes out is just dumb. So like, let's see. Let's give it a try. I think it might be cool. It might not be. Who knows?
So there's one other thing that I wanted to throw in with Jumptown, and that is, I think that one of the big things that's going to change Jumptown, even if it's not incredibly heavy in FPS elements, and it's still like functionally the same as it was before, just intended. Do you know what else is committed for 316? Laser trip mines.
That'll be interesting.
And everybody just can think on that one for yourself. But anyway,
Do you know
Go
what
ahead.
else we have in 3.16 that we didn't have in the previous Jumptown? Big ass bombers. There's like, this could go 90 different ways, and 40 of them are fucking genius, and 40 of them are absolute shit show. And I'm excited to see where it lands. Who knows?
Yeah, and talking about the big bomb, we were talking about that before the show started. You were just like, what are they going to do about people just bombing Jumptown? And it's like, well, if you don't have air superiority and you're just trying to be sneaky and just run in there and buy some drugs and leave, that's the risk you take. If you're not controlling the airspace, you just might get a spicy pickle in the head. That's just life.
All right.
Anyway, go ahead.
So what else do we have to talk? I know that someone wants to talk about the 12 days of Christmas. Go for it, my Australian brother.
Just before we do that, I just want to address one of the comments in the chat about PvP.
Mm.
People are saying that they're not necessarily interested in Jumptown because of the PvP element. Keep in mind, guys, is that there is going to be so much to do when it comes to Jumptown. Yes, there is obviously going to be just the PvP element of running in there with your ship and trying to fill up and get out. But also, we're going to need crew on ships. There's going to be hammerheads. There's going to be, and of course, I keep in mind too, we've got the ballista and all these other equipment, medical gameplay. There is going to be a lot of other things to do except for just running and shooting at people. We're going to need medical gameplay where people are going to have to be running in with their cutlass reds and whatnot, medically attending to people that are gone down. There is going to be a lot to do. So don't think just because it's Jumptown and PvP that you're not going to have something to do. There's going to be a lot.
Let me point something else out. Go ahead.
It was the same in Xenothreat. There was a PvP element to Xenothreat. There were players all around you, but there were also NPCs all around you, and you really didn't have time to tell the difference between the two. It was whoever was shooting at you, you took out. But it was fun, and there's so much NPC action around you at the time. I don't think you really notice it, and Gamer's absolutely right. The big difference between Star Citizen and other games, especially like Elite, is the different roles a player can take in this game. You can totally roleplay one specific role, and there will be a job for you pretty much doing anything with anybody.
Can I take a moment to point out one other thing? Let's say you are an industrialist. You call yourself, I'm an industry player. Or, as some might say, I'm a Care Bear. I hate the PvPs. Okay, well, be smart, man. Look at the situation that you have and find your fucking advantages. If you're a Care Bear, you hate the PvPs, and the announcement goes up that, hey, man, this event is happening. Jumptown is up, and you're on a server with 50 people. And let's say 30 of them go to Jumptown because that's the happening place to be. Okay, well, that means that if you have a server with a maximum of 50 people and 30 of them are in Jumptown, go elsewhere and make your money. You could do all kinds of shit while nobody's looking. And if you're an industrialist and you can't figure out a way to make an advantage out of that, well, you're just too dumb to make it as an industrialist. So, sorry, but find something else to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's here. I'll go there, make my money. And I'm not saying don't do Jumptown. Do Jumptown. It's going to be great. But if you don't want to do Jumptown, if you're like, I hate everything that stands for, then use the fact that everybody's going to be in A and go to B and make your money. Real quick.
This is the thing too.
Go ahead.
I know you want to get on to the 12th Christmas, but this is tying into the quantum thing. Keep in mind that we have quantum in this patch that's going to be used for refuel and repair. So if you're an industrialist, like what Kai's saying, and you want to make some money and you don't want to do the whole PvP aspect and do the drug thing, fine. But go mine Quantanium and sell it at Grimhex. Because if quantum's in the game, like they're saying, the price of quantum fuel is going to go through the roof. And what does that mean? People that have miners, that have prospectors, your demand for the quantum, the raw material, is going to go sky high. You're going to be able to sell it for a premium. So guys, start stockpiling quantum now. And when Jumptown gets released, sell it and make a tidy profit. Like Kai's saying, there's other things you can do as an industrialist besides going and get your ship blown up. So,
And
yeah.
that I'm not saying don't do Jumptown. I think Jumptown's going to be great. I can't wait. But I'm saying if you hate Jumptown, then do something else while everyone, while all of the fucking sharks are going to be in one spot. So go where they're not and make your money as a guppy. Whatever. Do you, bro? All right. Let's get on to this 12 Days of Christmas.
Yep.
Do it.
So 12 Days of Christmas, CIG have a event on their website where if you go to the website for the 12 days coming up, you go there once a day, you get a gift. Now, normally the gift is something small, like it might be like an armor, it might be an armor set, it might be a backpack or whatever it may be, some sort of flare or something like that. So it's nothing huge. Or it might be like a discount off some of the ships or something like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, they have this whole 12 Days of Christmas where you go through and you check off all the boxes and you get the 12 presents, and that's obviously the first part of it. They also have 4 competitions running at the moment. They have the Spirit of Giving, which is where you basically go around and you find little presents, the little boxes that'll be all around the landing zones.
Mm-hmm.
So around Porto, around Orison, New Babbage, all the landing zones will have these little boxes. They're normally green boxes with like a red ribbon on.
Except for Hurston.
Red ribbon on them.
In Hurston, the little boxes, you open them up and it says, "You owe me money."
Welcome to your new life of slavery. But yeah, so you find these little boxes and you take them in, and normally it's about $100 or $200 or something per box, from memory. So you can obviously go through and you can make some money doing that as well. So if you're on a server where there's not many people, great time to go through and just find all these little boxes that are scattered all over the place, and they keep respawning. So you can just literally sit there and just throw them all into the back of your ship and then take them and sell them over at Porto or wherever you might want to sell them. Mm-hmm. They also have the hauling gifts galore. So this is a wonderful time of the giving gifts, but how do these gifts make it across the verse? Someone has to deliver those packages. For a limited time, participants in missions to help deliver abundant packages throughout the system and reap the rewards and probably good karma. So they're going to have like delivery missions in game now where it's these bigger boxes. So they're going to replace the existing boxes that they have, some of them, and put in these Christmas deliveries, which will give you extra money. They have the screenshot contest where you go through and you can go to the Christmas decoration that's over near, I believe, at Microtech. Get a screenshot with you and your friends, upload it to Twitter and tag CIG in it, and obviously the best person with the best screenshot, or the best 3 actually gets a prize. Let me see if I can bring those details up. So the prizes are, so first place is a standalone Redeemer. Second prize is a Inferno, Ares Inferno, and the third one is an Argo Raft.
So wait, the second prize is an Inferno, which will blow up the first prize, which is a Redeemer, in about 4 seconds. Okay, I'm with you. All right.
Now, all those ships come with LTI, by the way, guys. So keep that in mind too. So, and like, these presents these prizes that they're giving out, these are pretty decent prizes. Like, this is a Redeemer and an Inferno, and even a Raft. That's LTI, and even if you don't want the Raft, you can then CCU it to something else and keep the LTI.
How dare you? How dare you? Even if you don't want the Raft, the Raft isn't a fucking amazing ship. You watch your mouth. Wow.
Did you see the video that John Cruise sent out where he turned it into Voltron?
Yes.
He got like five of them, and He's like he wrote like coming in 2022 or 2023 or whatever it was.
Dude, I think John Crew is a fucking national treasure. That guy is awesome. So let me clarify, or let me let you clarify for people listening. If you want to get in on this 12 days of Christmas and get your free shit, do you do that in game or do you do that through the CIG official website?
So it's a bit of both. So the 12 days that you have to check off, you do that through the website. The Spirit of Giving with collecting the presents, that's in game and then sold in game at like the admin desks.
Yes.
The holding the gifts is obviously through the missions and then obviously delivering them. The screenshot contest is screenshot in game and then uploaded to their Twitter account. And then obviously they've got the final contest, which is the citizens' greetings from your favorite shipmaker. One of the heels of the Arrow expert, blah, blah, blah. Send a citizens' greeting to the valued customer. Design a holiday greeting card for your favorite manufacturer, Crusader, and it lift it to its loyal customers for a chance to win even more prizes. So basically go through and make a greeting card for your favorite manufacturer. And the first prize is a Valkyrie with LTI. Second prize is a Redeemer with LTI. And third is a 400i with LTI.
Raft, right? Raft.
No. This is this one's actually a 400i. Yeah. So So you got two chances of winning a Redeemer. You got one chance of winning a 400i, one of winning a Valkyrie,
and one of an Inferno.
One of winning a Inferno and a Raft. So
yeah,
there's like 6 ships up for prizes at the moment, guys. So yeah, and this is obviously on top of things like starter packs have been discontinued at the moment.
Discounted. Discounted.
Yeah, discounted. Yep. Sorry, yeah. And then they've also discounted the Centurion and Imperia subscription passes as well.
And
if you wanted to buy them in bulk?
And has there been any? I don't want to say scuttlebutt, but speculation lately, like maybe there's some kind of announcement coming up with regard to the timing of all of this stuff leading up into Christmas.
So when they were talking about the grav lift, they mentioned that the ships would benefit, and they said the Nox, I forget what the other vehicle is. I keep forgetting it, but they mentioned that the grav lift. Yeah, 5. That's it. Bingo. Thanks. So they mentioned those, and they also then went through and mentioned 3 other ships. So it looks like 3 other ships, but they put a black line over his mouth so you couldn't lip read what he was saying, and they also blurred out the audio. So we do know there are more ships coming, and at least one of them presumably is going to be running off the grav lift because they said that it would benefit from it. And from what I've been hearing, there was supposed to be some announcement on Thursday regarding this possibly something that's happening in game. Now, maybe that was the Christmas thing, the Christmas celebration. Maybe that's what they were referring to for that. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, there was, like I say, it's a good time to play Star Citizen, to be honest. It's just a really good time.
Say new ship! Yeah.
Yeah. We're not sure. Like I say, there's 3 new vehicles or ships, up to 3 anyway, coming in soon. And one of them we suspect is a vehicle that's going to be using the grav lift. So yeah, new stuff, new ships.
ELIX, what do you think about that?
Something to keep in mind now. I haven't seen the whole thing of ISC because I've been busy. I basically I saw the gravel left stuff and I was just like, ooh, but I didn't see the whole thing. But one thing to keep in mind is there are still more space bikes that need to be finished that they've already sold as concepts. But my guess is they've held them back because Gravlev was in such a bad place and they just didn't have the time to go back and fix it. And that's the Origin X1 series.
I need that to put in my 400.
And so I was going to say,
now, especially now.
X1.
Go ahead.
So I was going to say they did mention the X1 as benefiting from the grav lift, and we do know that is on the roadmap.
Yeah, so I'm expecting those to come out now that they've got Grevlev sorted. So now, I mean, I'm not expecting it to come out on a specific timeline or deadline, but it's just the logical next thing.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's even more vehicles. I was speculating in the Discord earlier, like yesterday. What if it's like an Aegis or Anvil space bike with just two or three big guns on the front?
Tweaked, what do you think
But
of all?
Go ahead.
Tweaked, what do you think of all of this? I know you're not so much on the speculation, but what are your hopes? What are your fears? What are your thoughts?
I don't have any fears. At this point in time, I trust totally in what CIG has as far as their vision and what they're doing with all of this stuff. So I'm excited for all of it. The GravLab, I've the one thing I have not done in Star Citizen a lot yet is play with a lot of the ground vehicles anywhere. So I really don't know how that's going to benefit or how that's going to change anything, but I'm excited to find out.
Okay, very cool.
But there are other parts of this patch that have me more excited than even some things out of the last couple. So
tell me, share.
well,
What are...
we already kind of went over them. I'm excited for derelict freighters. I think that's going to bring a whole nother type of mission or experience to have with friends.
Remember how much
they could go varied ways.
Remember how much fun we had with the derelict freighters in Nomansky?
Absolutely, and CIG is going to do it up. So
hell yeah.
And I'm also I think people are sleeping on the atmospheric bounties because to me that says atmospheric dogfighting. So I can picture myself in my Gladius having it out with some baddie and a hawk or something like that, and I'm excited for it. That's going to be fun. It's going to be different than fighting in space.
Nice, yeah. Very cool.
At first, there. Go ahead, Tweaked. Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, at first, the in-air bounties are only going to be over points of interest and not just randomly anywhere. But this is just a first implementation, so I imagine that's going to change eventually. But anyway, go ahead.
We've definitely seen
and also,
that.
I saw another note come across my stuff the other day that bed logging. So on most of our ships, I don't think all of them. I think most of them. Yeah, the Gladius certainly doesn't. A lot of them don't. Your medium and larger ships have a bed that you can, in theory, log out of the game and then start your game the next day, and you'll still be there. In action, what that has done is put you into a bug, so you have an indefinite loading screen the next time you try to get on, and it's a giant pain in the balls.
Sometimes the trick there is, if you're going to log out in your bed in your ship, what you want to do, if you're like at Bezdek or one of the little bases or whatever, you want to land on a landing pad, not on the ground. And if you're like in space, you want to get close to a space station, like real close to where the little platform is, but not on the platform, and log out there. And then almost always you're good. If you're on the ground, like on some random part of a planet, or like floating out in the in the black of space. The black of space, sometimes you get that weird bug where you have to reset your character, and out on the ground you have that weird bug where you sometimes fall through the ground, and then when you're trying to fly up from like the ground up, a lot of times you'll hit the ground level and explode, and yeah, those both suck. But that is a big thing that they're looking to address and hopefully fix with regard to this patch. I just wanted to point that out for people that might not be aware of what you're talking about, Tweaked. Go ahead.
That bed logging on a moon or planet, ship falls through the surface. That is literally mentioned in the patch notes as a known issue.
Yep.
Now, for COG to actually mention that means they're A, aware of it, and B, they're focusing on it.
And they've said that they're trying specifically with this to make bed logging a more playable experience, and so yeah, 100%. That is what Tweaked is talking about, of like, hey man, I'm excited for this being a more real thing. I just wanted to point out that there are some things you can do now, even before that happens, to try to mitigate your situation.
I'd also point out that the two places I'm most likely going to want to bedlog are on some random cool ass alien planet all by myself, or in the black part, not moving at all, and nobody can find me because I'm a needle in a haystack.
That's fair.
But those are the two spots that it messes up the most. So that'll just be another huge addition to the game that will add to the immersion of the game. If I can get on my ship and have my cargo on my ship and then log off in the bed and then go to work the next day, come home at night, log on again, and I get out of bed and there's my cargo and I can continue my journey. That is what we're going for, and we're getting a lot closer.
Hell yeah, I get it. I agree, man. I agree.
One thing that you should be fairly able to rely on, and I put rely on in huge quotes, is if you're on a planet and you want to log out right there because you got to go, you can run into problems with some ships where they don't like being despawned while landed on a planet, and they don't like being spawned back in. Specifically the Mystical Reliant, because it likes to spawn in deployed vertical mode, which is a very bad thing when you're on a planet and now part of your ship is embedded into the ground, because it just breaks apart and destroys the ship. It makes it so you can't get into the cockpit, you can't unfold it, you're done. But what you can do, if you just pop yourself 100 meters in the air and you log out that way, assuming that you don't get hit by just you have to character reset because the bed logging in general failed, which, could always happen, but hopefully not, you should be fine, because when you spawn back in, you're 100 meters up in the air and your ship will be hovering. Just make sure that you leave it on, because if you turn it off, obviously it might fall.
But do you hear all these? Make sure this, and if you do that, hopefully with this fix, you don't have to do that. Because, for example, me personally, when I play, I want to end my night on a positive note, kind of when I'm playing the game, and I want to complete my mission and go get in my ship, lock the doors, and go crawl into bed and call it a night and have it work. I don't like jumping through hoops to do it. So.
You're right.
And I know they're getting there. Hopefully they can get it here. So
yeah. I just want to point out the bed logging issue and not being able to log back in and having to do a character reset. That's separate from the issue of logging out in a Reliant or a ship like that. And when you spawn back in, the ship commits suicide. I don't think they're fixing that in this patch, but it's directly related because it's triggered by bed logging.
Well, and
it's directly related in problems with bed logging, but it's not the issue.
It's also a situation of it's kind of like the flu, or a cold, the common cold. People are like, well, how come there's not a cure for the common cold or the flu? It's because there's no such thing as a cold or a flu. It's like 90 different things. Or the same thing with, well, how come they can't just fix 30Ks? Because there's not a 30K as a thing. 30K is an umbrella term that encompasses 50 different fuck-ups. And they fix, one here and one there and one here and one there. But you got to keep at it. And there's more and more and more. So with regard to all of this, and I think to Tweak's larger point, the whole point of this is this isn't going to fix all of the bedlog fuck-ups, but if it fixes a fifth of them, great. And now he'll wait for the next a fifth of them, and then the next one, and then eventually, as the iterative process continues to evolve, you get to the point where none of the bedlog problems are a thing anymore, and he gets to just enjoy the game without having to do what we who have been playing Star Citizen a little longer have learned of, it's an alpha, you got to jump through 50 hoops. When you go through a doorway, make sure you're walking in sideways like Riker while fucking with your tongue out and whistling Dixie and also snapping your left finger so that you don't fall through the floor. And
don't wear a helmet if it's on Tuesday.
And that honestly, that honestly, I know it sounds stupid especially to new players, but that's what Star Citizen was like a while back, and more, patch by patch, month by month, it's becoming less of that and an experience in can you navigate the 9 million bugs, and becoming more of just an experience of no, just play the game, man, it works. Like it's so gratifying to see month over month, day by day, it becoming just less and less of deal with the fuck ups and more just play the game because they've dealt with it. And like that's awesome. That's what alphas are. Real quick.
And I was going to say,
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Say, and that's where obviously the gaming community, the people like me, Twerk and ELIX, and people in chat, this is where we come into it, right? Is at the end of the day, guys, when it does go to PTU, everybody should be on there putting in the issue council saying, hey, guess what? And I'm not saying anyone here doesn't, but for the people that just sit there and play the PTU and have bugs and then log off and go home and go to bed or whatever, if you don't log these bugs into the issue council, they might necessarily know about it, and therefore the bug's not going to get fixed. If, for example, the Reliant, I've never heard of that before. CIG might not be aware of it. So, if we go through and we put it on the issue council, they'll be like, oh yeah, we can fix this. This is an easy thing. We just make it so that when it spawns in this state instead of this state. So this is why the issue council is important, guys.
So let's take a minute and address, I think this is the last thing that I have for the night, and I'll definitely give you guys the opportunity to add if there's something you want to wrap up, but let's just take a minute and address the whole carrot killer of it all. The Star Citizen had a, ship chat video. They had a little, talk or whatever, and a dev made the statement, oh, Odyssey, it's a carrot killer. And that has spawned, I think, a very strong reaction from the community, who I don't think in general agreed with that or liked that or thought of that. Now, look, they're selling video games. They're selling digital JPEGs. So there's going to be a certain amount of like, hey, hype machine for this. That is just a thing that you just have to know is like, oh, okay, take it with a grain of salt, whatever. I think as more details have emerged with regard to the fact that you're not dealing with a mobile refinery and mobile miner for the aspect of like mining for profit, what you're dealing with here is a ship that is absolutely able to mine and refine out in the wild as an extension of the gas tank. They're able to mine helium and mine quantanium and use that to keep the gas tank going indefinitely out in the blue and also refuel other ships. They've said very clearly that you can go out there, you can mine and refine and fuel your ship and also fuel the little ships that are docked in your hangar bay. And yeah, but like Nubifire's video, I think, summed it up where he's like, carrot killer, he's like, carrot killer, my ass. That's some bullshit. That's a fat, what do you say? That's a fat freelancer. And I was like, ouch. But like, let's address it. Like, not everybody's perfect. I talk on this show. We talk on this show for a couple hours every Friday night, and I say at least 10 dumb things in a 2-hour period. So like, I don't feel like it's entirely fair to like shit on the guy or dunk on him for one unfortunate comment. But I think it was exactly that, an unfortunate comment. Does anybody else here disagree? Do you guys is anybody like, no, this is a carrot killer, or like, whatever? Because I think as more and more information is gotten out, I think maybe there's a reason to sort of say like, oh, that was a little bit of sales hype there, brother. It's not a carrot killer. It is a, as I said last week, whereas the the carrot is the heavy hauler combat, military surplus, able to survive out in the wild and carry a bunch of ship. This is more the commercial version of it, which is not as combat ready, not as hauler capable, but has much more capabilities with a more commercial spectrum of things that it can do, so that neither one of the Carrack is not better than the Odyssey. The Odyssey is not better than the Carrack. One is a tank, and the other is a dump truck. And if you need a tank, well, then the tank is the better vehicle. And if you need a dump truck, well, then the dump truck's a better vehicle. Somebody enlighten me if you disagree or agree or whatever. Hop in.
Yeah, so I want to take something that Dunkel, a shout out to Dunkel in the chat,
Hey, Dunkel.
said, a different ship for a different job. It's not Elite where every ship can be everything. And you were basically saying the same thing, Kai, leading into this, and I just want to expand on that. That is exactly it. It is not a Carrack killer, except in the very narrow differences where it is actually different. It is a killer on those, and it trades off other things where the Carrack is the killer over it. It's just trade-offs. So neither one of them is actually a killer, and that was kind of silly to say, but you can look at it in a very specific way, and you may have an internalized mindset that is not communicated, where you prioritize what it is good as important to you. And so for you, it's subjectively a quote-unquote Carrack killer.
And if you happen to be doing a half-hour-long talk show where you maybe are personally motivated to sell the new product, you might want to hype up the new product, maybe. Wink.
I think, well, considering how badly that went, I don't think that was really intended. Like, I don't think that was a really like an intended thing. It might have just been enthusiasm getting a hold of somebody a little too hard while they're on camera.
Okay.
But we can argue about that. But I want to just touch on what is important with the Odyssey, and one of the big things that sets them apart is the Quantanium refinery. I don't think the Carrack has a Quantanium refinery, and this matters because the Odyssey does, which means the Odyssey automatically has more endurance than the Carrack. The Carrack could do the same thing if it can bring along something that can refine Quantanium. Like maybe the Starfarer will be able to refine Quantanium, and they'll bring along a Mist Prospector in the Carrack's, cargo bay, or like bay, whatever, or just fly it along with them as an escort. Now you're dealing with a minor fleet operation to do what the Odyssey does natively with its internals. But the Odyssey is giving up things that the Carrack is good at for that. And this was actually this was kind of foreshadowed, not the creation of the Odyssey itself, but I think this is kind of foreshadowed way back with the Carrack's concept sale mini game, Alone in the Verse. And it was the choose your own adventure where you scroll down the webpage and every so often events happened that challenged you to respond in a certain way. And they had different impacts where, your crew are fighting. How do you resolve them fighting over the last steak dinner? Or, somebody is sick. Different things that would happen on a long voyage with a small crew in cramped quarters would happen to you, and your decisions would impact your fuel quantity, your food, and your crew morale. And if any one of those bottomed out, you were dead because you were done. And the goal was to survive 42 days and discover a jump point.
So the side note, the obvious answer there is you take the steak, you eat it slowly while holding a gun to each of them, and you maintain eye contact, and you say after every bite, this is why you can't have nice things.
I think actually I seem to remember, I think one of the options was eat it and say fuck both of them for arguing like children. And neither one of them liked it, so your crew morale would go down, but that was an option. But anyway, but the point is that the fuel was one of the three limiting factors: fuel, internal supplies, and crew morale. Crew morale is always going to be an issue on ships. The Odyssey doesn't do anything special for that. It's not like it ships with a basketball court. Oh hey, it doesn't ship with an entire home entertainment center, an arcade, and 3-floor bar with built-in bartenders and so on.
That's what you use your
but
600i for.
Yeah, exactly. Bring the 600i along, or just pack the 400i. You're good to go. But it's dealing with the refueling thing, so it can sustain itself in that sense, where the carrot has to go back home sometime or another.
I mean,
So that is one of the big differences. So in that sense, it is quote unquote a killer.
Unless
in endurance. But go ahead.
Unless in the future there is some smaller ship that has the ability through some mechanism, which we don't know of now, to transfer fuel, to the Carrack, and then you're in a situation where the smaller ship lands on the Odyssey can fuel up the smaller ship, and then that smaller ship is able to transfer it to the Carrack, in which case, again, not a Carrack killer, but a Carrack enabler. Just saying.
True. Although I would think that, like, theoretically, that's what a Starfarer does. So you just have a Starfarer and a Carrack go off on a journey together.
Yeah, that's true.
And the Starfarer just sits in space while the Carrack goes off into danger and actually sticks its nose into trouble looking for things.
And that's what I was going to say. We are getting ship-to-ship refueling in 3.7 at the moment, anyway. Slated.
1.7.
So 3.17. So obviously, at the end of the day, I don't want to interrupt Elixir here, but I was going to say that there are two very different purposes for the Carrack and for the Odyssey. Someone in chat has actually nailed it when he turned around and he said Odyssey is what you do is you use the Carrack to find the jump points, and then you use the Odyssey to jump through the gate, and then the Odyssey to find the stuff that's in the system that the Carrack has found the jump point for. That they are vastly different ships. And look, Paul, he's a dev. I think they got a little excited. I think they got a little ambitious and said, Carrack killer. And he probably likes the Odyssey more than I think he worked on the Odyssey. I don't think he worked on the Carrack. I think he said. So yeah, he's a little bit of biased and stuff like that. But sorry, Alexi, you keep going and I'll jump in.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Just on that point with Paul, like, the other thing to keep in mind is that as much as we can, as much as we have to admit that the YouTube channel's videos are, in a way, marketing and promotion material for Star Citizen, they're also just news and communication to us, the player base. And they're serving both of those kind of at the same time. And in this case, I think he wasn't saying this as a marketing exercise so much as this was his opinion and his enthusiasm. And the important thing here is that CIG allows its developers and employees of all kinds to have their own opinions. Other companies that we might know of very rigorously control what their employees say in public, and the only people that are supposed to be talking to the player base without specific authorization to talk about this, that, and the very limited list of cleared information is the community team, who themselves have a list of cleared information, but that's just part of their normal. That's just what they do. That's their job.
How dare you talk shit on Bethesda like that? But go ahead.
Well, but anyway, yeah, Todd, come at me, man. Anyway, but I'm kidding. But anyway, it is his opinion, and you could even say that in his opinion, he thinks it's a Carrack killer, and maybe that's genuinely what he believes in his heart. He's allowed to be wrong. He's allowed to have an opinion that other people think is stupid. I think that CIG could do a little tiny bit more signposting about what is dev opinion and what is actually promotional material, and what is stuff that has been cleared, stuff that has been run past a group of people, including a lawyer, to say this is something we are going to make as an official statement to the public, as a promise, a commitment, a plan, whatever it is, versus Paul's on camera and just happened to get excited.
I think it could also literally be a situation where they're more than happy to have somebody extolling the praises of the new product on air and maybe encouraging people to whatever, and then.
But at the same time, there are a lot of the arguments of it not being a carrot killer and that being not an accurate statement have a lot of validity to them. So the criticism has a lot of grounds for it. So it kind of makes that bad marketing. But it did make people talk about it.
I thought Nubifire's comments were hilarious and accurate.
I haven't seen Noob's video yet, so I'm not sure what.
You gotta check it out. He literally laughed. He's like, "Oh my god, this is bullshit. It's a fat freelancer. Get over it." I thought that made me laugh. Okay, and that. So I think that comment was also hyperbole in the other direction, but it was funny.
Yeah, and this is what I've been saying for the past week or so. That there have been certain other people that have got people wound up over this whole carrot killer. My argument has always been for the past week, and anybody that's been in this chat will testify to this. I've always said it's not a carrot killer. I've always said that the mining laser on the front will only do Quantanium because it made complete sense. So, look, I think Paul, like I said, Paul worked on the Odyssey. He didn't work on the Carrack. These guys have spent, 30, 40 hours, whatever it may be, plus going through designing this ship. There's a little bit of transfer when it comes to, it's like this is my ship.
Oh, Jesus.
I developed this.
Gee, you say 30, 40 hours. Try thousands.
Yeah, well, that's my point. Is at the end of the day, he's probably sitting there thinking, this is my ship, and the CIG was having a little bit of fun with, there was supposedly an email that Xylo sent to John Crew about the Carrack and the Odyssey, and that was funny in itself. So the devs have been having a little bit of fun with this, and like Elixir is saying, I personally like the fact that Paul can get on a camera and can say this stuff and not be bound or gaffer taped by Chris and they're devs, guys. Like, they're not trained for PR. Like, can we stop sitting there trying to crucify the man for having his opinion? And obviously no one here is doing this, I'm talking about other people. But crucifying him for saying something that he's not necessarily trained for, because guess what? If we keep going on about this and keep going on about how Paul was wrong to say this, and guess what? COG is going to shut the door. They're going to be like, okay, this was a mistake. Obviously, he spoke out of turn. Everybody's got their panties in a bunch. We'll just make it so the devs don't say anything anymore. And we're going to lose that amazing thing that we have where the devs are free to have their own opinion.
I agree with you on everything you've said. However, I feel like it's also incumbent upon the community to have the freedom to be able to express and call bullshit on some stuff. And I think that that's completely fine. I feel like there is a certain aspect of, if you bend over backwards too far to excuse everything, then you lose the validity of being able to make sort of observations that are, let's say, unbiased. But whatever. It's not the end of the world. It was funny. It's a thing that the community has been all, in a tizzy over all week. So I wanted to take a moment and, poke a little fun, have a little fun with that. But I agree 100% with what you're saying. Not crucify the man, not turn this into a whatever, but like, come on, let's address it and say, that was a silly thing to say. Maybe a little unfortunate. God bless, whatever. No big deal.
And that's exactly my point. Is at the end of the day, is that I think it's gone past that point to the point where it's just, I don't know, it starts this community has a bit of a habit of snowballing issues and making mountains out of molehills. As much as I love the community, but at the end of the day, but here's a question for everybody that's in the chat, and I know you want to finish up, but I'll be quick. If hypothetically, say this was a Carrack killer, would that be such a bad thing? Let's just say that it is a carrot killer, and hey, this ship is a direct competitor to the carrot. Great. So what does that mean? We have 2 ships that can be used for exploration, and that have 2 different styles when it comes to the ships. And these manufacturers, they have different styles, different things in the ship, stuff like that. You might necessarily like the Carrack because of its military polish. You might like something that's more like a freelancer on steroids.
So you're talking about two different things. You're literally, that's not a carrot killer then. That's a competitor. Competitors, different flavors, is not a carrot killer. A killer means the mere existence of A invalidates the purpose of B. And the fact of the matter is yes, that would be horrible. And here's why. Because they did a huge thing not that long ago when they launched the Carrack and said, the Carrack is exploration. They literally had that video and it was like, Carrack is this, that, home, this, travel, exploration, wanderlust, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then it ended with like, the Carrack is exploration. So if you have a big thing and you sell a $600 ship and say, this is exploration, and then put out another ship that completely invalidates the actual purpose of it in a game loop that you haven't bothered to put in yet, because they haven't put in exploration. Sure. It's not a thing yet. And you say, now we're not going to sell you the $600 ship. We're going to sell you the $700 ship that makes the $600 ship absolutely useless dog shit. It's killed. The existence of A kills the purpose of B. Yes, that would be really bad. To be clear, I don't think they've done this, but it's not entirely fortunate to have one of your guys say that. And to your point, yes, I get the point that he worked on this, he didn't work on that, he's attached to it. I get the point that he's a man that has a valid right to his opinions. And again, I started this conversation off by saying I, in a 3-hour period, say at least 10 dumb things. So I'm not the first one to go ripping apart a guy. I'm not at all saying that he should be burned at the stake. But you're saying, would that be a horrible thing? And I'm saying, yes, it would be a horrible thing, and those are my reasons why it would be a horrible thing. But it's not what's happening. So does that answer your... Yeah.
But my point was, for example, and this is the reason why I'm saying this is because, the prospector, right? We have the prospector that goes out and does mining. Would I like a Anvil version of the prospector?
Hell yeah.
Would I like a Crusader version of the prospector? Yes. Would that make the prospector die off or become obsolete? There are still going to people that are still going to pick the prospector over the, say, Crusader version, right? But at the end of the day, because certain people like the Crusader style, people like the Misk style. So at the end of the day, I think when the community calls it a Carrack killer, they're not saying that the Carrack is going to be useless. What they're saying is that people are going to melt their Carrack for the Odyssey because it does the same job.
It doesn't.
Which it doesn't. Right.
Okay.
But saying even if it does, even if they do come out with some ship in the future that did the same job, would it be so bad considering the fact that they've got different styles, different manufacturers?
With all due respect, I think we're going to have to end this conversation there because we're talking in circles. The fact of the matter is, though, I dispute your central point. It would not be a carrot killer if it was just a different flavor. A killer means that it's so good, A is so good, that B is now dog shit. If you say we have 2 flavors, we have, hamburgers and pizza, they're both great, pick whichever one you particularly want today. That's different. Carrot killer is, we have now hamburgers and now pizza is no longer a choice that's really viable to anyone who's fucking paying attention. And that's not at all what we have here. So let's let that one rest. Go ahead.
To mention real quick,
go ahead.
Though, to get my point in, is it can't be a Carrack killer simply because the Carrack is too cool of a ship. And that's what this boils down to, is we get the Odyssey, another really cool ship with
Hell
a
yeah.
badass interior, and it's all good. So what the dev said something, it's a lot to do about nothing.
And the
And
Carrack can
keep in
do
mind,
100 things that the Odyssey never will. And the Odyssey can do
Yeah.
100 things that the Carrack never will. Neither one of them is a killer for the other. I think that's
no, and
been
remember,
proved over and over and over. Go ahead.
and what I was going to say, just very quickly, remember with the Carrack, we have modularity that's coming with it too. Those 3 or 4 modular bays, where they're cargo bays at the moment, we don't know what they might be doing in the future. They might put in some sort of Star Trek Voyager sort of observatory that'll allow you to go through and map some jump points and whatever it may be. They've said that they're modular. So, like I say, I really think the community is sort of getting, not us, but other people, are getting wound up over this whole thing because we don't even know all the details. Let's see what the details are, and if you like the Carrack because of the style, take the Carrack. If you want to go and investigate a jump point, take the Carrack. If you want to go into deep space and do a Destiny Stargate universe like thing, take the Odyssey. Yeah. Anyway,
I want to pivot this to talk about something a little different in the same, but about the Odyssey, and it's something that somebody in chat said.
Mhm.
I'm gonna butcher this name, and I apologize. It's just a name in chat. I do not know how to pronounce this, but Paseo about 10 minutes ago said the only thing I'd say they should have done is to do the Q&A before they sell a $700 concept ship that won't be out for likely a couple of years.
True.
Now, I am not doing this to call this individual person out. I've seen this expressed before in other places. I just want to ask, how are they supposed to do a Q&A post before they reveal the ship to the public and
Let me answer that.
create the context for those questions?
Let me answer that perfectly easily. You announce the ship, you do the Q&A, and then the next day the ship is online and available. You can announce it and not sell it that
But
day. We can say, here's the ship. It's not on sale until tomorrow. Here, we're going to talk about it and give you the details on it. That's that.
The
It's that
thing with
simple.
that, the thing with that is that if they put the concept sale up but they don't put the sale button up, they're wasting all of their powder.
No, not at all.
You know, and there's a whole argument to be had about exactly how effective that is or not. I don't want to get into it. This isn't the right show for it. I'm not at all qualified to speak authoritatively about it because what do I know?
It's not
But-
at all a problem for them to say we're going to answer your questions and then it's on sale an hour from now.
I also want to point out, well, I mean, they need a bit of time to form it, to gather the questions, decide which ones are not important or can't be answered in now because it's questions they don't, it's things they don't have or are relevant. Get the answers, format them, and then post them. It takes a bit of time. But here's the other thing: if it matters so much to you that you feel that until the QA came in, you were not given the correct information, there is a 30-day refund period during alpha. So if it bothers you that much, you can get your money back, no questions asked.
Yeah, no, I'm not at all
I'm
bothered.
just saying.
I'm just pointing out, I feel, again, I am a fan of CIG. I am a fan of this game, but I feel like it's important to be able to have some unbiased whatever of just looking at it and go, well, that was dumb, or whoop, that was a mistake. It's okay. It doesn't mean they're evil. That doesn't mean they're horrible. It just means I think the people in the community who constantly shit on CIG for everything that they do are not helping the situation. I think the people in the community that constantly bend over backwards to defend CIG for anything it does are not helping the situation. I feel like it's good to have kind of a medium, like, be appreciative of them, but also point out some things where you can say, that was unfortunate. I hope you do better next time. And that doesn't mean I hate you. That doesn't mean you're evil. That doesn't mean you robbed me. You're right, 100%. You can 30 days get your money back. You can even longer get your money back. You write in, you specifically ask them. It's not a guarantee that you'll get it back, but on a case-by-case basis, they have actually even extended that farther for people. I'm not saying, any of what you're saying is inaccurate. I'm just saying, like, guys, let's not go so crazy overboard to defend them blindly that we do mental gymnastics to pretend like the guy didn't say a dumb thing. He said a dumb thing. So what? I say 10 dumb things every day. It happens. Whatever. But like, it's not a carrot killer, and it's not a situation. And here's the deal. I'll say this. I think it's not even a bad idea to melt your carrot, or not melt, the CCU upgrade. You know what I'm talking about. I always say the wrong terminology with that bullshit because whatever, I don't play that game. But like, it's a good idea, I think, for a lot of players. If you're even on the fence, I think it's a great idea to melt, upgrade CCU, whatever the fuck it is, your Anvil to an Odyssey. And here's why. Because the Odyssey isn't going to be out for a couple of years. And it's going to grow in price between A and B, between now and then. And in the meantime, you got a loaner Carrick for the Odyssey. So it's a great whatever. I'm personally not going to do that because I'm not on the fence. I absolutely know without question, I do not want the Odyssey. I want the Carrick. I love the Carrick. I think that might be one of my favorite ships, period. It's Firefly. And I don't want a ship that is not combat capable, is a fucking basically like another flavor of a Liberator, an LCAC. It's like it can carry shit, but it's got like more. It is, as Nubifier said, it's a fat freelancer. Now it has more capabilities of whatever, but look, what does it mean when I say fat freelancer? I mean, well, when he said it, but what do I think it means? I think it means, hey man, this is a commercial ship that does lots of commercial stuff. I don't want a commercial ship that does lots of commercial stuff. I want a military-capable explorer, and that's the Carrick. So I'm not whatever, but I'm not knocking people who, if you're one of those people where you're like, man, based on whatever, I did upgrade my thing to a Odyssey. Well, congratulations. Enjoy your loaner ship for the next couple years. You know what that loaner ship is? A Carrick. It's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. But let's not be afraid to call them out when they say something dumb, which I think they did here.
I would totally agree. At the end of the day, they could have easily put up the FAQ, even if it was just questions that they went around the office and just asked and got a bunch of questions. They could have easily put up some of these questions and did it less than a week. Like, it was literally a week later. You know, if you want to go through and do like, hey, ask us more questions,
sure,
for a week, sure. But they they knew that this question was going to come up about the refinery and whether it's going to be able to mine more than just quantum. They knew that. They could have easily put that out when they came out with the...
You say they knew that, but I want to point something out. It seems so. You say they knew that, but when they brought out Alpha 2.0, and this does have a point, when they brought out the very first PTU builds of Alpha 2.0, and they got it to the point where it wasn't crashing within 5 minutes, so people could actually play it, one of the very first things that somebody did was they got their Avenger out, and they got a buddy in the back, and they quantumed out to Daymar, and then somebody jumped out of the back during quantum to see what would happen. Mm-hmm. And of course, they just stopped in space, and the ship just blasted away from them. Mm-hmm. This footage, of course, went crazy viral within the Star Citizen community because it was like, lol, somebody just jumped out of quantum in the back of a ship. They're now stranded in space. This worked. And the devs, then on the next Around the Verse, they had devs on. It was either Around the Verse or one of the YouTube shows or the stream or whatever. And they had devs on that had been working on the PU, Alpha 2.0 stuff and physics and all that. And they specifically referenced these clips of people jumping out, and they showed the very first one of somebody doing it. And they're like, we had absolutely no idea players were going to try to do this. We didn't expect it at all.
They totally should have.
Well, yes, they should have, but they were just heads down in building the game. They didn't think, well, what are players are just going to jump right out the back? Of course they are. Mm-hmm. They don't care. They're suicidal. It doesn't matter. It's alpha. And, you can make the argument that they should pay more attention to that. And I'm not defending how long it took for them to get the post out. That's a different topic altogether.
Okay.
Like how long it took them.
I
They could have had that done in 48 hours.
All
But
right. We're
it's just a matter of they can't predict everything. That's why there's so many more of us.
We are past
Anyway,
10:30 at night, and we've been talking on this subject for about a half an hour, so we're going to wrap that up. I will point out, though, when you say, like, they couldn't have expected it, if you say, I'm selling you a house and it has 4 rooms, and you neglect to mention that 3 of those are, like, you know, or you say, I'm selling you a house and it has 4 bedrooms, and 3 of those are like finished bedrooms, and one of them is like a fucking external porch kind of a deal or whatever. That's the kind of thing that you maybe should have thought, like, anticipate. So when you say we're selling this ship and it has a refinery, that's a kind of thing where it's like, nope, I call bullshit. You really should have. There's no reasonable expectation that you wouldn't have thought to say, oh, by the way, this refinery is just an extension of the gas tank. It's not a refinery like everyone's going to think. Like, sorry, but no, that's a thing that is a reasonable person would have thought to mention. All right, I'm going to go around the horn and let everybody throw their last thing in for the night, and then we got to wrap this up because we've been on the show for like 87 hours. So, Tweaked, what do you have that you want to add to anything, or just say goodnight to the beautiful people?
Well, we did miss one thing
Go for
on
it.
Elite when we were talking about the fleet carrier interiors.
Hell yeah.
At one point in time, and I have a screenshot of it that I can send in and we can have it posted or whatever, but they showed a shot of the, I assume, the commander's seat, like Captain Picard's chair in the Enterprise kind of. And there was a option to interact to sit. It said not applicable at this time or something like that, but it was an option that we don't have in game currently, which implies we're going to be able to sit down. So if we can sit down there, maybe we can sit down in other places in the future.
Very cool.
If they're backing,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, if they are backing their way into an interaction system, it's not like Star Citizens, but in the same general format of Star Citizen, where you push some sort of key or do something, and visible targets that you can interact with appear in the environment on things you can work with. That's that stepping stone straight into usable items for like usable things on the walls that I was talking about when we were back talking about Elite and fleet carriers.
This is not that. They've already said specifically with regard to fleet carrier, what do you call it? Fleet carrier, not cockpits, the bridge. They've already said with regard to the fleet carrier bridge that you would be able to see the jump, but that, like, because of some limitation on whatever, how they're going to render that or whatever the fuck with the graphics of it, you would have to do so from a seated position. And because I remember specifically me defending that comment and saying, well, I mean, that makes sense. If you were going to hyper jump, you would need to sit down and buckle your seatbelt up. Otherwise, you'd end up flying through a bulkhead. So that makes complete sense anyways, that you need to sit down for the like, I think it's a matter of the technical limitation of how do you render the whole jump animation or whatever while people are walking around. That changes like the visual aspect or whatever. This is just more, I don't think this is, I'm going to sit down and now I'm going to beep, boop, beep, boop, 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 start controlling shit.
Oh, no, I don't mean that.
It's just a matter of like, yeah, you got to sit down because we're about to fucking, like, when you get on a plane and you're about to take off and land, they make you sit down and strap in. If you're going to jump through hyperspace.
To me, that would be a big thing, because one of the nice things about Star Citizen is when I am waiting for my ship to be retrieved, I can go sit down on the bench. And It would be a nice immersive addition if that comes to Elite, where we can sit down in the bar while we're waiting for a friend or something along those lines.
And
that would be cool.
I want to clarify. I don't mean that you're going to be able to walk around in the fleet carrier and then the captain comes on the bridge and he's like, all right, everybody get the fuck out of the way. And he walks over to his chair and he hits F and clicks sit down. And now he's able to control the fleet carrier from the chair. I don't think that's happening. But what I mean is, I think they're introducing a push button to use item in front of you thing, which begins with sit down on chair, and then maybe turns into activate pointless but fun little animation of making coffee and drinking it for role play.
Okay.
And then turns into open door and lock door. And then, but it's the stepping stones towards something like that. It's not going to be I sit down at a table and suddenly, boom, I have a crew console and I'm able to control the shields.
All right, gamers, your final.
It's not going crazy. But anyway, go ahead.
Gamers, your closing thought for the night, or whatever, or say goodnight to the beautiful people.
Sure. I don't think ELIX going to go down that road, but that's something Alexi and I will talk about later.
Beautiful.
As for closing arguments, guys, 3.16 should be dropping. I'm going to say mid next week. For wider PTU, look, go in there, play the PTU, do the issue council. Let's get these bugs fixed so that when CIG is on holidays, we can go through and we can smash each other in Jumptown. And I'm looking forward to murdering every single one of you in chat in Jumptown. No offense, but you're criminals and I'm going to arrest you.
Who's Australian and overly excited for medical play? That boy. ELIX.
I'm excited to send you all to prison.
Hell yeah. ELIX, your closing thoughts for the night, if there's anything that we missed, and or say goodnight to the beautiful people.
Well, I just want to say, just remember, we are pretty much living in, I would say, the best time for space games, even though those best times are with an alpha and then with No Man's Sky. But, just there's a lot of good things coming to us. We are spoiled with riches, despite the fact that some of those riches might have rough edges. And remember to keep the devs in your thoughts, especially over holidays when they go home. A lot of hard people are doing a lot of hard work, regardless of which universe you fly in.
Wait, did you say hard people are doing? Are you suggesting that they're sexually excited? What? No.
That holiday partying,
I mean, some of them might just have really stiff backs, but
fair,
one way or the other, it's there.
Fair.
But yeah, just thank the devs. They're doing the hard work for you.
All right,
and have a good night, everybody.
Absolutely. I've been your host, Kai Zen. I'm a little drunk and still having fun in New World and talking space games. Also, don't lose sight of the fact that Starfield, man, there's some more stuff that came out in the last week that was
to my wish list on Steam tonight.
They included all kinds of. They've been doing more little interviews and stuff, and we haven't been covering it so much here because so far it's not like detail stuff. It's more like concept stuff or whatever. But it's exciting, and I'm excited to see where it goes. They're aiming for 11/11. 2022. 11/11 is a big deal. That's when they launched Skyrim. That's like a thing that it's like I don't know. It's their thing that it's like they launched it on 11/11, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Hopefully whatever. But yeah, great times. Star Citizen, killing the game, loving it. Elite, making some positive steps. Should be whatever. And I think also continuing to step in shit in a couple of spots, but making some positive steps, and I'm digging it. Obviously Nomansky just killing the game, doing awesome shit, and I'm excited to see obviously where that continues to go. And yeah, The Expanse, go check it out. We love you all. I hope you have a great night. We're gonna send you home with this time of year we get all of these sort of shitty Christmas songs. I wanted to give you a cool, sultry, awesome version of one that it's like you probably hear the shitty version in the mall all week or whatever. But I want you to show you that not all Christmas music sucks. So enjoy this one.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
Okay, this works better if I.
There's just one thing I need.
Over here. Oh, I hate this new version of OBS stuff. If I click on this and then click on this.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. There's just one thing I need. I don't want a lot for Christmas. There's just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is you. I don't want a lot for Christmas. This is all I'm asking for. I just wanna see my baby standing right outside my door. I don't need to hang those stockings there upon the fireplace. Santa Claus won't make me happy with a toy on Christmas Day. I just want you here tonight, holding on to me so tight. What more can I do? All I want for Christmas is you. You, baby. All the lights are shining so brightly everywhere, and the sound of children's laughter fills the air, and everyone is singing. I hear those sleigh bells ringing. Santa, won't you please bring me what I really need? Won't you please bring my baby to me? Oh, no, I don't offer much this Christmas. I won't even wish for snow. I'm just gonna stay here waiting underneath the mistletoe. No, I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is you.